Welcome to the quiet side of science. Tonight, the world will slow down, and so will you. Beyond your window, the planet is turning softly through space. Mountains drift a fraction of a millimeter. Clouds move like thought. The air you breathe has circled the globe 1,000 times, touched oceans, forests, and fire, and now rests gently in your lungs. Life on Earth is a miracle we forget to notice. It's quiet, patient, infinitely creative, from the shimmer of plankton beneath the waves, to the hum of bees drifting through summer air, to the pulse of your own heart, echoing the rhythm of the tides. For the next while there's nothing to do, nowhere to go, no urgency left in the world. You're here to drift, to listen, to remember what calm feels like. Over the next 100 moments, you'll wander through the soft truths of this planet, the science of rain and roots, of light and sleep, of oceans that breathe, and stars that remember where we came from. Each fact will be simple. Each one will hold you quietly, a doorway into wonder, a reason to rest. So lie back. Let your thoughts settle like dust in sunlight. Let the sound of the world slow your heartbeat. This is 100 calming facts about life on Earth. A journey through everything peaceful, everything patient, everything still alive. You're safe here. You're part of it all. And it's time to begin. Welcome to the quiet breath of the Earth. Before anything else, before thought, before history, before even the rise of sunlight, there is air. Invisible, ancient, endlessly recycled. Each breath you take tonight has been here for billions of years, drifting across oceans, slipping through forests, brushing the wings of birds, and sighing through the gills of fish. The air in your lungs right now might once have filled the chest of a whale, the leaves of a fern, or the hollow bones of a creature that no longer exists. Every inhale is an inheritance, every exhale, a gift returned. The story of life is the story of breath. Long before lungs existed, the planet itself was learning how to breathe. In the shallow seas of a young world, tiny blue-green cells began releasing oxygen, a quiet act that changed everything. They worked slowly, without knowing, turning sunlight and water into air. Over eons, the atmosphere thickened with possibility. Every sigh of the wind is their memory continuing. Think of that for a moment. The air is not empty. It is a library of exhaled thoughts, of forests, of ancient tides. Every molecule has touched more lives than we can imagine. Some may have risen from volcanic vents, circled the globe in storms, or slipped through the nostrils of a saber-toothed cat sleeping in the grass. Even when the world seems still, this ancient element is always moving, binding every living thing in a single invisible rhythm. If you listen closely, you can almost feel it, the slow exchange between leaf and lung, wave and nong, cloud, stone, and skin. The same pulse in all directions, the same calm, and yet we forget it. We live as though the air belongs to us, when really we belong to it. The atmosphere is our shared bloodstream, our global breath. You can travel anywhere across continents, deserts, mountains, and still, you are connected by this unseen current. It hums quietly through every moment of your life, steady and loyal. Even now, in the soft darkness of your room, the air folds around you like water. It enters you, leaves you, and returns never lost, only transformed. A few atoms you breathe tonight may drift into a cedar tree a year from now, or dissolve into the ocean spray over a distant shore. The world trades pieces of itself endlessly, without rush or noise. Scientists have calculated that it takes about a year for a single molecule of oxygen to circle the entire planet. Imagine that journey, from the forest canopy of the Amazon to the snows of the Himalayas, across the warm breath of Onosos, cities, and the frozen silence of the poles. Each molecule, a traveler, carrying the faint warmth of one life to another. The planet, in a way, is a single lung. It's easy to forget that breathing is not only a human act. Mountains breathe through weathering. Oceans inhale and exhale carbon and heat. Even rocks release tiny whispers of trapped gases as they break apart. In the language of geology, the Earth, breathes in centuries, not seconds. Every mountain range is an exhalation slowed to stone. Somewhere deep in the ocean, microbial colonies near volcanic vents perform a kind of underwater respiration, exchanging gases, sustaining balance. Their work echoes that of our own cells, as though the planet practices the same rhythm at every scale. From the microscopic to the continental, there is always a steady inhale and exhale. Life is the continuation of that rhythm. Take a slow breath now. Notice how easily it happens. The body does not need to be told. It remembers. Breathing is older than thought, older than memory. It is the simplest way the universe moves through you. In that motion, you are connected to everything that has ever lived and everything that will. The poet might say, "Air is time made gentle." Each breath contains the past, the present, and the promise of what comes next. When you inhale, you are not only taking in oxygen, you are taking in history. You are breathing the patience of coral reefs, the calm of glaciers, the dust of long-gone comets. You are breathing the sigh of the planet itself. In the forests of the Amazon, trees release oxygen during the day and take it back at night, a slow balance that keeps the world alive. Somewhere, perhaps thousands of miles away, you join that same conversation simply by breathing. Your lungs mirror the rhythm of a leaf you'll never see. The connection is silent, yet perfect. Sometimes, late at night, when the air feels heavy and still, you can imagine hearing that planetary breath, the faint hum of insects, the soft rustle of leaves, even the quiet vibration of your own heartbeat, all of them part of one continuous sound. It's not a song you can record or play back. It's too vast, too subtle, but once you sense it, it never leaves you. Every creature, from the tiniest plankton to the largest elephant, contributes to this chorus. Even the dead feed the air, releasing the last of their stored gases back to the sky. There is no beginning or end, only exchange. A circle so complete that no one notices its perfection. That is why the ancients worshipped breath as sacred. In many languages, the word for spirit and the word for breath are the same. To breathe is to be inhabited by life itself, to participate in the quiet continuity that keeps the cosmos unfolding. When you next close your eyes, remember that the air is older than the stars you see. Some of its atoms were born in supernovas billions of years ago. They crossed the cold of space, became oceans, turned into rain, and now rest in your lungs for a heartbeat before drifting onward. The universe has never stopped moving through you. And so, as you lie here listening, you are already part of that gentle circulation. You are not separate from the forests, or the seas, or the quiet stones of the desert. You are one more rhythm in the breathing earth. Perhaps that is the most calming fact of all, that nothing you do, no breath you take, is truly alone. Every inhale is a reunion. Every exhale, a contribution. The planet breathes, and you breathe with it. Somewhere far away, a wind begins to rise over the ocean. A single wave rolls and breaks, releasing mist into the air. That mist will travel, changing form, drifting across nights and lands, until one day it becomes the air that fills your lungs again. Before forests, before even the sound of wind in leaves, there was only water. A silent ocean stretched across the young earth, its surface shimmering beneath a dim, copper sky. Beneath that surface, something small began to stir. So small it couldn't be seen, yet large enough to change everything. Life's first heartbeat began not with a bang, but with a ripple. In the darkness of those ancient seas, chemistry became curiosity. Molecules met, clung, separated, and met again. Lightning struck the waters, stirring clouds of minerals and simple compounds into fleeting patterns. Most dissolved and vanished, but a few stayed. Those were the first experiments in persistence, the beginning of the long patience of life. The first cells didn't know they were alive. They had no eyes, no minds, no dreams, only motion, repetition, and chance. But each cycle of movement was a soft declaration: continue. They fed on sunlight, on warmth, on possibility. Slowly, they learned the rhythm of survival. The ocean was their cradle. Every current carried the ingredients of tomorrow: carbon, nitrogen, a touch of salt. It was a restless nursery, where every drop of water shimmered with potential. Over millions of years, tiny membranes formed to protect the delicate reactions inside. It was a simple invention, a bubble, a barrier, but within that thin skin, the universe found a way to hold itself together. Imagine it, an entire world reduced to quiet, single-cell drifters gliding through a warm sea under a dim red sun. There were no predators, no noise, no movement beyond the soft sway of the tide, just molecules repeating themselves into memory. That repetition, that gentle insistence on existing, was the first pulse of life. If you could listen to the ocean then, it would not have been silent. It would have hummed with microscopic activity, a faint, steady vibration of growth. Each new cell, dividing slowly, added its voice to the chorus. That sound, though lost to time, was the first music of the planet, a rhythm that continues in every heartbeat today. The oldest fossils we've found, tiny traces of bacterial mats, are more than 3.5 billion years old. They look like wrinkles frozen in stone, quiet signatures of persistence. Even then, life wasn't in a hurry. It took nearly 1 billion years just to add complexity, another billion to move toward multicellular harmony. Nothing rushed. Nothing needed to. Time itself seemed to move differently then. The days were shorter, but the patience was infinite. Imagine the slow turn of that ancient world, with no eyes to see it, no ears to hear it, yet still, life bloomed in silence. Every dawn was another experiment in endurance. The first photosynthetic organisms, the ancestors of modern plants, learned to turn sunlight into sustenance. They took carbon dioxide and water and gave the world oxygen in return. It was the planet's first act of generosity, a quiet alchemy that changed the color of the sky and the fate of everything that would follow. At first, oxygen was toxic to most early life. But slowly, nature adapted. Some cells learned to use it for energy, and a new balance emerged. The air we breathe tonight was built by that invisible revolution, sustained by billions of patient breaths made by creatures no larger than dust. The sea became brighter. Light began to matter. Energy flowed in new ways, shaping microscopic jungles beneath the waves. The first food chains formed not out of hunger, but exchange. One cell released what another could use. The beginnings of sharing. The first quiet community. It is humbling to think that everything, forests, whales, human thought, began with such simplicity. A few molecules deciding not to stop. The ocean, in its calm persistence, became a teacher. From its currents, life learned to drift. From its pressure, to strengthen. From its vastness, to cooperate. When you close your eyes and listen to your heartbeat, you're hearing that same rhythm. The same pulse that began billions of years ago still moves through your veins. Each contraction of your heart is a small echo of that first cellular division, that first repetition of life choosing to continue. Even sleep itself may carry that memory. The slow rhythm of breath and rest mirrors the ocean's endless tide, in, out, the same pattern that once rocked the first living things. The body remembers what the mind cannot. If you could drift backward in time, you'd see nothing at first, only endless water. But if you waited, if you watched long enough, you'd begin to notice movement. Filaments of cells gliding toward light. Bubbles rising from hidden vents. The faint shimmer of organic film on a wave. It would look almost still, and yet, in that stillness, life was writing its first sentences. The ocean is not just where life began, it is where patience began. Every evolution since has been a variation of that patience. To wait, to adapt, to continue without knowing why. Even now, deep-sea vents still host ancient lineages that have barely changed in billions of years. Their chemistry, their form, their quiet persistence, all reflections of life's first pulse. When scientists study those creatures, they are peering into time itself, the earliest heartbeat of the earth, still echoing. Some of those microbes can live for thousands of years, reproducing only once in a century. They do not rush because they do not need to. The ocean provides, the planet endures, and they continue softly, endlessly. Perhaps that's what makes this story so calming. The reminder that everything alive, from the smallest plankton to the tallest tree to you, lying here now, comes from that same quiet decision to go on. Life began as persistence without purpose. It continues as beauty without effort. If you could whisper to those first cells, they would not understand language. But if you could breathe beside them, your exhale might carry the same rhythm they began. The rhythm of repetition, the sound of becoming. And as the tide rises and falls tonight somewhere, on the planet, the ocean still keeps that time. The ancient pulse of beginnings. Everything you are, every atom, every breath, every slow heartbeat has been here before. Not once or twice, but endlessly. You are a temporary arrangement of very old things, gathered by gravity, warmed by the sun, and shaped into a moment called you. The carbon in your bones was forged inside a dying star. The calcium in your teeth once drifted in the ocean as the shell of something small. The iron in your blood, the color of life itself, was born in a stellar explosion billions of years before Earth had oceans or air. You are, in the most literal way, a calm recycling of ancient light. Scientists call this the stellar ancestry of matter. Every atom heavier than helium was made in a star's furnace. When those stars collapsed and scattered, they seeded the galaxy with the dust of tomorrow. Over time, that dust gathered into new stars, new planets, and eventually, into us. We are not separate from the cosmos, we are its memory, arranged into breathing form. It is easy to think of time as something that passes, but in truth, time gathers. You are a collection of it, billions of years condensed into a single heartbeat. Every cell in your body carries elements older than mountains. In your bones, the atoms remember the silence before sound. In your skin, they remember the warmth of the first suns. You are the stillness between beginnings. When you touch a stone, you're touching something that has existed in more forms than we can imagine. Dust, magma, crystal, sand. The same matter reshaped endlessly, without ever being lost. There are no new atoms, only old ones rearranged into new harmonies. When you breathe, when you move, when you sleep, you are a brief chord in that eternal composition. Think about the air again. Some of the oxygen in your lungs might once have flowed through the forests of prehistoric Earth, through dinosaurs and dragonflies, through the fires of ancient lightning storms. A molecule that carries your breath tonight might drift into a whale's lungs next year, or be exhaled by a redwood in another century. You are part of a never-ending trade, a quiet agreement between all living things. It's a humbling idea, but also a deeply comforting one. Nothing is ever truly gone. When something ends, it simply changes shape. When a leaf falls, its atoms return to the soil, feeding roots that will become new leaves. When an ocean wave breaks, it becomes mist, then rain, then ocean again. And when a star dies, it becomes the material for new worlds. The universe doesn't discard, it recycles beauty. So much of life's anxiety comes from the illusion of separation, from thinking we are isolated islands of consciousness. But the truth is softer. You have never been alone. You are built from connection itself. Every element within you has already belonged to countless other forms: fish, flowers, mountains, and stars. The universe has worn 1,000,000 faces before becoming yours. In the core of your cells, atoms vibrate with quiet memory. They remember being starlight. They remember the slow drift of time. And when you breathe, that memory continues not as thought, but as harmony. Life's song has never stopped playing. It simply changes instruments. Tonight, you are part of the verse. If you could trace your molecules backward, they would lead you through an infinite lineage, through ancestors, through oceans, through the molten cradle of the early Earth, through nebulae drifting between suns. You would pass through epochs of silence and flame, through calm and chaos, until you arrived at the place before all things, a moment of possibility, waiting to unfold. And from that stillness, you emerged. There is something tranquil in knowing that even chaos led to calm. That stars had to die for your heart to beat. That every fragment of you once floated freely through the universe, waiting for this shape, this moment. Life is not an interruption of stillness, it is one of its expressions. The Buddhists say that to breathe mindfully is to touch eternity. The physicists might agree. Each inhale is the continuation of the Big Bang's original expansion, the same motion, slowed and softened into the rhythm of lungs. You are not living in the universe. You are the universe, remembering itself. When you close your eyes, you can almost feel the age of your atoms, their quiet endurance. They have witnessed the birth of suns and the death of worlds. They have drifted through interstellar cold and volcanic heat. And now, after all that traveling, they rest in the simple warmth of your body, breathing quietly while you dream. If you could listen deeply enough, beneath the pulse of your blood, beneath the whisper of your thoughts, you might hear that ancient hum, the sound of matter continuing its endless story, the sound of belonging. And perhaps that is what calm truly is. Not an escape from motion, but the recognition that everything is already moving together. You are the still point in a dance that has been unfolding for 13.8 billion years. Every flicker of thought, every blink of light, is the universe exhaling. The atoms that make you will go on after you into clouds, into rain, into new lives. Someday, far in the future, they might form part of another being, who will sit beneath another sky and breathe the same air you once breathed. The pattern will continue, always gentle, always patient, always calm. So when you feel small, remember this. Small things are how the universe expresses its infinity. Each of your breaths is a tiny echo of creation itself. You are made of stars that burned long before there was memory, and you will return to them in time. You are ancient, and you are new. You are fleeting, and you are eternal. You are the calm between pulses and the pulse itself. Tonight, as you drift towards sleep, imagine your atoms sighing with you, not in weariness, but in recognition. After billions of years of wandering, they have found rest once more. And tomorrow, when the morning light touches your skin, they will awaken gently, ready to begin again. Somewhere tonight, beyond the reach of cities, a forest is breathing. Its canopy sways in slow conversation with the wind. Beneath the soil, roots stretch out like the fingers of an unseen hand, touching, linking, sharing. Though they make no sound that we can hear, the trees are speaking not in words, but in patience. For centuries, humans believed trees stood in silence. But deep underground, threads of fungi weave through the soil, forming a living web, the mycorrhizal network. Through this hidden system, trees exchange nutrients, warnings, and information. One root releases a whisper of sugar, another answers with nitrogen. When drought approaches, one tree may send chemical signals that help its neighbors prepare. In every direction, messages drift slow, deliberate, ancient. A tree alone is fragile. A forest, though, is a community. The great trunks above are only half the story. Below, they are linked in a slow pulse of generosity. The oldest trees, sometimes called mother trees, nourish the young. They send extra carbon through the roots, feeding saplings shaded by the canopy. The young, in turn, grow and strengthen the network. There is no competition here, only balance. Imagine that, a world where survival means sharing. Every breath of oxygen you take begins as a collaboration between sunlight, leaf, and fungus. When a tree grows, it doesn't do so in isolation. It is built by the unseen kindness beneath it. Scientists have traced these underground connections for only a few decades, but the forest has known them forever. The mycelium moves so slowly that it seems timeless, a heartbeat stretched across years. Each signal can take hours, even days, to travel from one trunk to another. Yet the rhythm never fails. In the forest's language, time is measured not in seconds, but in seasons. Above ground, the air smells of quiet chemistry, resin, soil, a hint of water. Sunlight filters through layers of leaves, scattering into a green haze. If you stand still long enough, the forest begins to breathe with you. Your lungs adjust to its slower rhythm. Your thoughts begin to move like the shadows between branches. Each tree has a personality. The oak stands deliberate, storing strength. The birch moves lightly, trading energy with quick precision. The pine hums softly with resin and wind. Together, they make a kind of slow orchestra, leaves rustling, branches creaking, the distant tap of falling seeds. Even the silence here has texture. When rain falls, the forest listens. Drops strike the leaves and slide downward in long silver lines. Beneath your feet, the soil drinks deeply, carrying that water to waiting roots. A storm is not chaos here. It's conversation. The rain tells the trees that the drought has ended, that the rivers will swell again. In dry times, some trees close the pores on their leaves to save water. Others release tiny airborne compounds, messages carried by scent. Nearby trees recognize them and react, conserving moisture. To us, it's invisible. To them, it's language. And when a tree is wounded by lightning, by insects, by the slow gnaw of time, it releases another signal. Its neighbors respond, strengthening their own defenses, sometimes even sending nutrients back toward the damaged trunk. It is empathy without awareness, cooperation without thought, a pattern woven by life itself. Forests have memories too. The soil remembers the chemistry of past seasons, storing clues for new growth. After fire or frost, the first shoots rise from that memory. Ash enriches, decay nourishes, and the green returns never identical, always familiar. In this way, the forest practices forgiveness. If you've ever felt comforted by the sound of leaves, it may be because their rhythm matches something inside you. The swaying of branches in the wind is not random. It follows fractal patterns, repeating shapes that appear everywhere in nature, in rivers, clouds, even the bronchi of your lungs. The same geometry that helps a forest breathe also guides your own breath. You are built from its design. Sometimes, walking through a forest feels like entering a cathedral without walls. Light filters through the canopy in shafts of gold and green, settling on moss like quiet blessings. You breathe deeper here without meaning to. The air is thick with negative ions, charged particles that lift mood and calm the nervous system. It's as if the forest knows how to heal the minds that wander into it. Every year, the trees shed what they no longer need: leaves, seeds, bark. They let go without struggle. The forest floor becomes a soft archive of what once was, breaking down, feeding what comes next. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is hurried. The lesson is simple, but hard to practice in the human world. Release gently, and growth will follow. Even at night, the forest doesn't sleep. Sap continues to flow. Roots exchange water. Insects move through the dark like small thoughts. The moonlight slips across the canopy, and the trees lean slightly, as if listening to the stars. In this way, the forest teaches a kind of calm that is not stillness but continuation, a calm that moves, breathes, and endures. You can sense it if you slow enough. The faint vibration beneath your feet, the hum of living wood stretching toward the sun. Perhaps that's why so many people describe feeling grounded in the woods. The body recognizes the conversation it came from. Our lungs echo the leaves. Our nerves follow the branching pattern of roots. When we walk among trees, we are not visitors, we are relatives returning home. And though the forest's words are slow, they are clear. Nothing grows alone. Every life feeds another. Every silence is full of meaning. Every fallen leaf is an offering to tomorrow. When you breathe tonight, you are joining that ancient dialogue, exhaling carbon that a forest will one day turn back into air. The trees will answer, though you may never hear them. Their reply will come as shade, as fruit, as the coolness that drifts across your skin on a warm day. So listen quietly. Beneath the soil, 1,000 roots are speaking in patient tones. They are saying, "You belong. Rest. Continue." Rain begins softly, never all at once. A single droplet, then another, then a million more following their lead. The first sound is distant, like someone whispering across the canopy. Then it spreads a slow shimmer of sound that seems to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. When the rain falls over a forest, it is not just water returning to earth, it is memory descending. Every drop has been here before. Each one has traveled the long, patient cycle of the planet, rising from oceans, crossing skies, gathering in clouds, and returning to touch the soil again. The forest drinks, and in doing so, remembers. This is the hydrologic heartbeat of Earth, the same water moving endlessly through form and time. The raindrop that lands on your skin tonight may have once been snow on a mountain, mist in a cave, or part of a wave breaking against the shore of another continent. It may even have passed through the body of an animal, a leaf, or a human being. Water forgets nothing. It simply transforms. The forest knows this. When rain touches its leaves, it begins a conversation that has lasted billions of years. Each drop slides along bark and moss, into roots, through soil, and back into the underground rivers that sustain all life. Some water stays only for hours, evaporating again by morning. Some lingers for centuries in aquifers deep beneath the ground. But all of it will eventually return to the sky, carrying the essence of what it has touched. Imagine being that raindrop falling through clouds, through light, through air that smells of cedar and earth. You strike a leaf, bounce once, then slip down to join 1,000 others running toward the cottit roots. Beneath the surface, the soil drinks you in, filtering and softening you until you are no longer rain but nourishment. You become the forest's bloodstream. As you travel downward, you brush against roots alive with electricity. Trees draw you upward again, molecule by molecule, through narrow capillaries thinner than hair. It's an invisible climb, slow, constant, ancient. Within hours, you'll reach the canopy again, reborn as vapor, ready to fall once more. Even as the rain descends, it's already planning to rise. There is a strange comfort in that circular promise that nothing truly ends, only changes direction. The forest understands this rhythm better than we do. The falling rain softens what was rigid, fills what was empty, heals what was burned. Every drop is forgiveness, and every puddle a reflection of time learning to begin again. If you stand under the trees during a downpour, you'll notice the delay. The rain must first pass through layers of leaves before it reaches you. What falls from above becomes softer, filtered by green patience. The canopy stretches wide, sharing the burden of the storm. Some drops cling to the edges of leaves, trembling before they fall, tiny worlds holding a moment of sky. The scent of rain on earth has a name, petrichor. It comes from oils released by plants and microbes when water touches dry soil. It's a reminder that even scent can be a kind of communication, the planet's way of saying, I am alive again. When the first rain of the season arrives after long heat, the earth exhales. The forest, too, sighs in relief. In the rhythm of the storm, there are patterns. The larger drops fall first heavy, insistent. Then smaller ones drift in, carried by wind, landing softly on ferns and needles. Between the strikes, there are pauses, pockets of silence, where you can hear the forest respond. A frog calling, a branch shedding water, the hush of soil absorbing sound. Somewhere, a seed begins to wake. It has waited through months of drought, through heat and darkness, holding the faint memory of moisture in its shell. The first touch of rain is enough a signal older than language. The seed splits quietly, sending a white root downward, tasting the earth for the first time. In that instant, an ancient pattern continues. Every forest carries its own rain story. In tropical jungles, water falls with thick percussion, drumming life into endless green. In northern woods, it comes as mist, clinging to pine needles and moss, turning the air into liquid silk. In deserts, the rare downpour transforms silence into bloom overnight. The shape of rain changes, but its purpose never does. To remind life to continue. Sometimes, after a storm, you can see the forest shining, not just wet, but illuminated from within. Drops cling to every surface, each catching a tiny reflection of the sky. the entire canopy becomes a constellation of light. The rain has not only fed the trees, it has decorated them. If you listen closely after the rain stops, there is a new sound: dripping. The forest releases what it doesn't need. The excess runs along trunks, gathers into rivulets, and returns to the ground. Even here, there is no waste. The smallest fern, the tiniest insect, benefits from this generosity. The air feels changed, too cooler, charged, awake. You breathe it in, and it tastes faintly of minerals and renewal. This is the smell of rebirth. The rain has cleaned the air of dust and pollen, left behind negative ions that calm the nervous system. Science can measure this, but only silence can explain it. In the calm after the storm, animals emerge cautious at first, then playful. Birds shake their feathers. Deer step softly between dripping branches. Insects resume their endless small tasks. The forest is busy again, but never hurried. Everything moves at the speed of gratitude. And as sunlight breaks through the thinning clouds, steam rises from the canopy, the forest exhaling. The cycle completes itself once more. Rain to vapor, earth to sky, memory to renewal. It's as if the world is telling its own bedtime story, whispering, "I remember, I return." Perhaps this is why rain feels so peaceful to us. It carries the sound of repetition, of things coming back to where they belong. It tells us that loss is not permanent, that even what falls will rise again. So when you hear the soft percussion of rain outside your window tonight, imagine it falling through the forest, touching every leaf, every root, every waiting seed. Each drop is a note in a song that never ends. The earth is singing quietly to itself, and through it, to you. You are part of that rhythm, a listener, a participant, a moment of stillness in a billion-year cycle of returning water and growing life. Somewhere, beneath 1,000 miles of soil and root, a drop that fell tonight begins its long journey back to the sea. And when it gets there, it will rise again, carrying the scent of the forest in its vapor, proof that nothing beautiful is ever truly lost. Growth is quiet. It rarely announces itself, and it never rushes. It happens slowly, invisibly, with the calm certainty of things that have nothing to prove. In the forest, patience is not a virtue, it is the law. Every leaf, every blade of grass, every root beneath your feet is shaped by waiting. The green world measures time differently. Where we count in minutes, it counts in seasons. Where we see progress as movement, it understands that stillness is its own kind of motion. Some trees grow only a few centimeters each year. A pine may take half a century to reach the height of a house. A redwood, the height of a mountain's dream, may be older than the first civilizations. The slow rhythm of their lives is not delay, it's balance. They expand only as much as their roots can support. Every upward gesture is matched by an equal deepening below. If you could hear a tree grow, the sound would be almost imperceptible, a soft creak of fiber, a sigh of water moving upward, the delicate crack of bark adjusting to new width. Growth is not a burst. It is a hum stretched across decades. The forest doesn't hurry because it doesn't need to. Time itself bends around its patience. A single acorn falling today may not become a tree until long after we are gone. Yet the forest plants it anyway. It invests in futures. It will never see a quiet confidence that life will continue. Underneath that canopy, everything follows this same law of calm persistence. Moss spreads across stone millimeter by millimeter. Ferns unfurl their spirals with perfect slowness, as though stretching after a long sleep. Even decay, that most feared of processes, is just another phase of patience. Fallen leaves become soil. Soil becomes nourishment. Nourishment becomes green again. The forest's secret is that nothing hurries, yet everything is done. When sunlight filters through the branches, it doesn't stay still. It drifts in golden pools, sliding gently as the hours pass. The forest's shadows move in slow waves, tracing the planet's turning. Each patch of light is a clock made of softness. In the deeper woods, where sound fades to the heartbeat of insects and wind, it's easy to feel time dissolve. Moments blur together, like raindrops joining a stream. Minutes feel irrelevant. You begin to understand how trees endure centuries by never counting them. A leaf does not think about tomorrow's light. It simply opens when the sun arrives. A root does not question the darkness. It follows moisture wherever it leads. There is no anxiety in their existence, no expectation beyond the present breath of soil and air. That is the patience of green, not waiting for change, but being content inside it. Scientists have found that trees can enter a kind of rest during the night, not sleep exactly, but a subtle relaxation. Their branches droop slightly, their cells slow down, conserving energy. Even giants need to rest. And in that rest, they continue to grow. The forest breathes deeply, while the world above it dreams. If you could stand still for 1,000 years, you'd see an entire civilization rise and fall around a single oak. You'd see rivers shift course, mountains erode, climates change, and still, that tree would stretch toward the light, ring by ring, patient and untroubled. Its growth would be invisible day to day, but monumental in time's embrace. We often think of patience as waiting, but in nature, it's participation. The forest doesn't delay its life, it synchronizes with the earth's heartbeat. When the rains come, roots awaken. When winter arrives, sap retreats. Nothing resists, nothing forces. Green life flows with the rhythm of the planet's long inhale and exhale. Look closely at a leaf, and you'll see time written in its veins, a perfect geometry of nourishment, drawn with mathematical calm. The chlorophyll inside captures sunlight that left the sun 8 minutes ago, turning distant fire into local life. That transformation happens every second, silently, a miracle performed billions of times. Unnoticed, unhurried. Even the color green itself is a symbol of this peace. It's the wavelength our eyes find most restful. Our biology evolved to relax in its presence. Perhaps because deep inside, we recognize it as home, the color of continuity, of safety, of breath. When a forest ages, it doesn't lose beauty, it gains character. Bark thickens, branches twist, roots anchor deeper. Imperfections become its signature. Every scar from lightning or storm becomes part of its story, absorbed into its quiet dignity. Growth is not about remaining untouched, but about surviving gently. The forest has no concept of waste. Even what dies becomes part of what grows. The fallen trunk becomes a nurse log, feeding fungi and seedlings, returning its strength to fungi. The circle. In that way, the forest embodies the calm mathematics of return, every loss balanced by renewal. If you listen during the stillest hour, you can almost hear that patience not as silence, but as depth. The air seems thicker, charged with invisible work. Beneath your feet, millions of roots are moving molecules, trading minerals, building futures. Above you, leaves are turning light into sugar, second by second, molecule by molecule. Every process is slow, but unstoppable. And perhaps that's the comfort the forest offers. The reassurance that growth doesn't need to be visible to be real. That life's most important changes happen quietly, beneath the surface, where no one is watching. You, too, are part of that law. The calm within you grows slowly, ring by ring, through every season of your life. Even when you feel still, you are changing. Even in sleep, your heart continues its work. Like the trees, you are patient in ways you cannot perceive. So as you rest, tonight, imagine that you are lying at the center of a vast forest, breathing in its rhythm. Around you, green continues calm, endless, unhurried. Leaves drift down, seeds prepare for spring, roots explore the dark with gentle certainty. Time stretches out, not ahead or behind, but all around you. This is what patience sounds like: the hum of photosynthesis, the sigh of wind through leaves, the quiet growth of things that have learned to trust time. The forest does not ask when it will reach perfection. It already is. Listen closely. Somewhere beyond the horizon, the ocean is breathing. It inhales, and the tide rises. It exhales, and the water slips back toward the sea. This rhythm has never stopped, not for a single heartbeat, in billions of years. It is the planet's oldest pulse, felt by every creature that has ever lived. The tides are not accidents. They are the quiet conversation between the Earth and the Moon, a gravitational dance so consistent it could lull a planet to sleep. Every 6 hours or so, the ocean moves in and out, pulled gently by lunar gravity. The Moon doesn't shout its influence, it whispers, and the Earth responds with movement, a subtle bow to its distant companion. Imagine standing at the edge of the shore. The sand beneath your feet shifts slightly as the tide returns. Each wave, though it seems separate, is part of a single, endless gesture. The same rhythm that draws water across continents once shaped the formation of life itself. Long before lungs or gills existed, single-celled organisms rose and fell with these currents, learning to move with the planet's breath. You can think of tides as time made visible. Twice a day, the sea reveals the hidden land, then hides it again. It's a slow heartbeat carved into the edge of every continent. The Moon may change its face each night, but its pull remains constant, reminding the ocean and us to keep moving, gently, without end. When the tide is high, the sea is full and confident, pressing against cliffs and coves, filling the air with salt and sound. When it withdraws, it leaves behind patterns, smooth, sand ripples, shells, fragments of driftwood, quiet footprints of movement. To watch the tide is to witness balance, giving and returning, fullness and emptiness, motion and rest. Even the smallest creatures depend on this rhythm. In tidal pools, anemones close when the water leaves, then open their soft arms when it returns. Crabs bury themselves in sand, trusting the sea will come back. Fish ride the currents as though pulled by memory. Every life along the coast is built upon trust in repetition, a trust older than thought. Beneath the surface, the tides sculpt the world. They move sediments, carve channels, feed coral reefs, and stir nutrients that feed plankton, the invisible lungs of the planet. Each tide brings renewal. Even decay becomes part of the balance, transformed into nourishment by the patient chemistry of salt and motion. There's something deeply calming about this knowledge, that the same force that shapes continents also moves through your body. The fluids inside you follow a rhythm, not unlike the tide, your heart pulsing, your lungs expanding and contracting. The Moon's gravity even shifts the fluids in human bodies by a fraction, aligning our inner tides with those of the sea. In a quiet sense, we are made of water that remembers the Moon. When you breathe deeply by the ocean, you can feel this symmetry. The inhale mirrors the incoming tide. The exhale, its retreat. For a moment, your body and the sea are one rhythm, separated only by distance. Every wave that breaks carries the sound of that shared pattern, the hiss of breath, the pause, the sigh. Ancient cultures knew this instinctively. They told stories of ocean deities who ruled over tides and storms, who commanded both fear and reverence. But beneath the mythology was a truth that modern science confirms. The ocean truly does move with a pulse, and that pulse sustains life. If you could speed up time and watch from above, you would see the oceans flowing around the planet like liquid light, surging and receding, driven by gravity and wind. The surface shimmers like a sleeping creature's chest, rising and falling with steady grace. It is motion-made serenity. Sometimes, the tide can seem restless, waves pounding against rocks, foam swirling in endless patterns. But if you slow your perception, you realize even the roughest surf follows an ancient choreography. Every crash is followed by retreat, every retreat by return. Nothing stays still, yet nothing is truly lost. At night, when the moon is full, the tides reach their highest mark, spring tides. They're called, not for the season but for the way they leap toward the sky. The moon's pull strengthens, aligning with the sun's gravity. The ocean stretches upward, answering the call of light. Even water, it seems, cannot resist wonder. And when the moon wanes, the tides soften. The sea withdraws a little farther. The waves grow quieter. The air smells more of sand than salt. It is the planet's exhale, long, slow, patient. Standing at the edge of such vastness, you realize how small time feels. Each wave is a memory of 1,000 before it. Each ripple, a repetition of the universe's first movement. And yet, there's comfort in knowing this rhythm will continue long after we are gone. The ocean doesn't rush or hesitate. It simply is, enduring, reliable, eternal. Perhaps that's why people feel drawn to the sea when they seek peace. Its voice is the sound of repetition, of continuity. To listen to waves is to listen to your own pulse, translated into water. Every crash, every hiss of foam, every hush of retreat is a reminder life continues. The tide always returns. Tonight, somewhere in the darkness, waves are moving over unseen shores. The moon drifts above them, watching with silent devotion. The earth tilts slightly, and the sea rises to meet it. That movement, gentle, predictable, endless, is the planet's lullaby. And as you breathe, you match it without trying. Inhale, the tide comes in. Exhale, it goes out. The same force that moves oceans moves through you. The same gravity that binds the moon to the earth binds your breath to the rhythm of everything that lives. In this way, the ocean teaches what the forest already whispered. Calm is not the absence of motion, but motion in harmony. So let the tide's rhythm carry you now, not forward, not backward, but softly between. Drift with it, rest with it. Let the planet's pulse become your own. Down beneath the surface, far beyond where sunlight fades, the ocean begins to dream in light. It is a world without day or night, where brightness is not borrowed from the sun, but created from within. Every shimmer, every pulse, every slow flicker in the darkness is life remembering how to shine. Bioluminescence. The word itself feels soft, like the glow it describes. Bio for life. Lumen for light, living illumination. The ocean's quiet lanterns. Most of the light on Earth is not made by fire or electricity, but by living things. Tiny plankton, jellyfish, squid, fish, even bacteria, all crafting their own glow through calm chemical reactions. A molecule called luciferin meets an enzyme called luciferase, and the result is radiance. The light appears, not in flames or heat, but in cool waves of blue and, quote, green, drifting like breath through water. Out there, in the open dark, light is language. A flicker means, I am here. A pulse means, come closer. A fading glow might mean, I have vanished into safety. For creatures who live in endless night, glowing is a way of speaking, surviving, and belonging. Imagine floating there, the water cold, the pressure immense, yet the world around you glimmering softly. Jellyfish bloom like drifting galaxies. Schools of fish scatter light as they move, flashing in synchronized waves like underwater constellations. Some species release a cloud of glowing dust when startled, a brief underwater aurora to confuse predators. Others carry steady lanterns at the edges of their bodies, small beacons for companionship in the dark. Each glow has its purpose. Some lure prey closer. Others warn danger away. But many simply exist, glowing because they can, painting the deep with quiet beauty. When you see the sea sparkle at night, that magical glitter that follows a wave or the trail of your hand, you are watching the breath of microscopic plankton. They glow when disturbed, a defense mechanism, perhaps, or simply a side effect of being alive. The ocean, stirred by motion, reveals its secret light. It is as though the sea is returning your touch with a gentle, luminescent smile. Sailors once told stories of milky seas, vast stretches of glowing water that seem to shine for miles, visible even from ships in the darkness. For centuries, no one believed them. Then satellites confirmed it. Entire regions of the Indian Ocean occasionally light up, glowing softly for days, created by trillions of bioluminescent bacteria gathered in perfect calm. The planet itself, briefly, becomes a living lamp. There's a comfort in that, the idea that even in the deepest, darkest water, life finds a way to make light. The ocean doesn't fight the darkness. It inhabits it. Light here isn't a battle cry. It's a lullaby. Some fish, carry their light in organs called photophores, arranged like constellations along their sides. Others house colonies of glowing bacteria inside their skin, trading protection for illumination. The anglerfish, strange, ghostly, dangles a small glowing lure before its mouth, waiting patiently for curious prey. Even in the abyss, patience reigns. Scientists studying these creatures often describe the deep sea as the quietest fireworks show in the universe. But these fireworks don't explode. They bloom, slowly, beautifully, then fade into the black, leaving behind trails of memory that drift like smoke made of color. No light here travels far. Water absorbs most of it almost immediately. But that's what makes it so soothing. Every glow is small, local, intimate. The light belongs to the moment that made it, like a sigh. For a human diver, descending into the deep feels like entering a cathedral of shadows. The water thickens, the color fades, and then a glint, another. And suddenly, the dark reveals itself as alive. Tiny sparks drift upward, carried by unseen currents. Each pulse could be a jellyfish, a shrimp, or something still unnamed. The sea holds more species than we will ever know, many of them glowing softly in secret. When light moves through water, it slows down, bending, shimmering, dissolving. A fish might appear twice, 3 times, its glow refracted into ghostly echoes. The effect is hypnotic, like watching time itself ripple. Some species, like the firefly squid of Japan, rise to the surface in spring, lighting the waves with blue-white luminescence. The entire coastline glows, as if the stars have fallen into the sea. People come to watch in silence, moved not by spectacle, but by serenity. The glow doesn't demand attention, it invites it gently. And in the deepest regions, miles beneath, there are creatures that have never seen the sun. Yet they still create light. Their radiance is ancient, chemical, and complete. It needs no approval, no witness. It is enough simply to exist. Maybe that's the lesson hidden in the abyss. That brightness doesn't need noise. That beauty doesn't need to be seen to be real. The most peaceful lights are often the ones that glow unseen. Even the human body glows faintly, though too dim for our eyes to perceive. Every cell emits photons as it burns energy. We, too, are bioluminescent in the quietest way, small flickers of light inside our skin, hidden beneath the daylight. The universe seems to like repetition. When you think of that, it becomes hard to feel alone. You are glowing. The ocean is glowing. The planet itself is full of secret light. Darkness is not an absence, but a backdrop for radiance. The next time you see the sea at night, that silver shimmer, that quiet motion, remember that you are looking at the oldest kind of hope. Light that learned to live inside the dark. As the waves roll and recede, millions of tiny sparks fade in and out. Each one lasts only a heartbeat. Yet together they form eternity, a glowing, breathing constellation beneath the sea. And as you breathe with them now, let your thoughts drift in rhythm with their calm flashes, appearing, fading, appearing again. There's no need to hold them, no need to chase them. Just let them glow, then dissolve, like all things that find peace in returning to quiet. Beneath the waves, where the sunlight fades to blue and time itself seems to slow, something ancient is singing. It begins as a low vibration, deep and distant a sound, so long that it feels more like a movement through the body than a note in the ear. It is the voice of a whale, carrying through the dark. Whales do not shout, they resonate. Their songs can travel for thousands of miles, wrapping around continents, echoing through entire oceans. Long before the first human spoke, these melodies were already drifting between the currents, messages, memories, and maps made of sound. Each whale's song is both familiar and unique. Some phrases repeat for hours, others shift slowly over months. It's a language of rhythm and tone, passed through generations, altered with each retelling like stories remembered by the sea itself. Scientists record these songs, then watch as they evolve year by year. One population begins a new pattern, a new verse, and soon, whales thousands of miles away start to sing it too. The ocean becomes a single choir, changing its melody in slow, planetary harmony. Imagine the scale of that memory, a song carried across oceans and decades. For whales, sound is not just communication, it is survival. Through song, they navigate, find one another, measure distance, and perhaps, in some deep and private way, express emotion. The water carries their voices farther than air ever could. Each low note vibrates through the ocean's skin, rolling along thermoclines, layers of temperature that act like invisible highways for sound. The sea listens and remembers. A blue whale's call is one of the loudest sounds made by any living being, yet it feels soft when heard beneath the waves, a distant pulse, steady and deliberate. You don't hear it so much as feel it, a hum that seems to vibrate through your bones. That resonance is older than language, older than music. It's the heartbeat of Earth made audible. When the first whales evolved from land mammals millions of years ago, they returned to the ocean like children going home. They traded legs for fins, lungs for deep breath holding, and found in water a kind of freedom that land could never offer. To dive is to return to remember the original cradle of life. Every dive is a meditation in slow motion. The whale fills its lungs with air, then descends into pressure and silence. Its heartbeat slows, conserving oxygen. Blood flows only to vital organs. Down it goes, deeper and deeper, into a realm without color or surface where light dissolves, and sound becomes the only map. There, in the black stillness, whales sing. They sing to locate each other, to echo against the seafloor, to fill the vastness with presence. Some songs last half an hour, repeating with patient perfection. Others stretch for an entire day. It is music not for performance, but for persistence, a way to be known in an endless world. If you could listen closely enough, you might hear the layers, the clicks of sperm whales, the trills of orcas, the slow, moaning verses of blues and fins. Together, they form an oceanic symphony, deep basses and trembling highs, woven by instinct and memory. Every frequency fills a purpose, every pause carries meaning, and between these sounds, there is silence, long stretches of nothing, where only the faint hum of the sea remains. In that silence, whales drift, suspended, resting between notes. Even their stillness is part of the song. The ocean remembers them. Sound travels so well underwater that some whale, calls made decades ago, may still be faintly echoing in the distance, distorted, stretched, woven into the endless hum of background noise. Somewhere in that vibration, the memory of an individual still exists, their song still traveling, still saying I was here. It's easy to romanticize whales, to imagine intelligence and emotion that mirrors ours. But the truth may be even more beautiful. They are not imitating us. We are remembering them. Their patience, their rhythm, their calm, these are qualities we once shared with the world before we learned to hurry. When you hear a whale song in a recording, you are listening to time-made sound. Each note takes seconds to unfold. Each rise and fall is deliberate. There's no rush to resolve, no urgency to conclude. The song simply exists, as the tide exists, repetitive, reliable, serene. Sometimes, on quiet nights in certain bays, their calls can be felt from the shore, a faint vibration in the air, like a distant hum behind the wind. Fishermen say the sea talks on such nights. Perhaps it does. Perhaps the ocean, through the whales, reminds itself that it is alive. There is something profoundly restful in the thought that these creatures carry the planet's memory. They have witnessed the changing of climates, the shifting of currents, the rise and fall of ice. They have sung beneath every moon since before human eyes first looked up at it. And still, they continue calm, enormous, enduring. Their songs do not compete with the noise of the world. They move beneath it, patient and sure. When a whale dies, its body sinks slowly to the seafloor. The journey can take hours, days. Scientists call this process a whale fall. As it drifts downward, it becomes an island of life in the deep, feeding fish, crabs, worms, and bacteria for decades. Even in death, it nourishes. The song ends, but its echo sustains others. Perhaps that's what makes the thought of whales so peaceful. The understanding that existence itself can be an act of giving. That presence can ripple through time, long after the voice has faded. As you rest tonight, imagine that sound low, rolling, endless somewhere beneath the surface of the world. The whale's call, the ocean's heartbeat, the memory of a million tides. You do not need to understand it. You only need to feel it. Because in that vibration, you are connected to everything that breathes, drifts, and dreams. The same waves that carry a whale's song once carried the molecules in your breath. The same sea that holds their voices also holds your reflection. The connection is not poetic, it is literal. And so, the ocean sings, and you are part of its harmony. The whales remember, and through them, so does the earth. Somewhere in the deep, a single note continues a vibration that began before language, still traveling, still alive. And if you listen closely enough, you might realize it's the same rhythm as your heartbeat. The air is older than we are, older than mountains, older than rain. It has circled this planet for billions of years, shifting shape but never ceasing, never beginning, never ending. The atmosphere is the Earth's skin, thin, translucent, protective, a veil of motion and memory. Every breath we take is drawn from it, every sigh returned to it. And yet, we almost never notice it. The air you breathe tonight may have once drifted through the lungs of a whale surfacing in the Antarctic, through the canopy of a jungle, through the streets of an ancient city. It might carry a hint of volcanic ash from centuries past, or the faint scent of pine from a forest half a world away. Air is the great recycler of experience, invisible, constant, kind. When sunlight warms the planet, it stirs the air, setting vast circulations into motion. Warm air rises at the equator, cools, and descends near the poles, looping endlessly. What we feel as breeze or wind is simply the planet's way of balancing temperature, a slow, ceaseless dance that smooths the difference between extremes. You are always inside that motion. Even when the night feels still, the air is moving, swirling gently around your body, carrying molecules from breath to breath, moment to moment. Each inhale you take is part of a global conversation, one that began long before humans learned to listen. Consider this. A single molecule of oxygen you breathe may circle the Earth in a matter of weeks. It will pass through storms, over mountains, across oceans, through the lungs of animals and the leaves of trees, before eventually finding its way back to you, transformed, but not lost. Every living thing shares this constant exchange. The air does not belong to anyone. It belongs to motion itself. When you breathe in, you are participating in an ancient rhythm, the same one that began when cyanobacteria first released oxygen into the seas billions of years ago. That exhalation of the planet has never stopped. You are inhaling the legacy of that first breath. The air itself is a delicate blend, mostly nitrogen, some oxygen, a whisper of argon and carbon dioxide, and trace elements that tell the story of everything happening on Earth. In each cubic meter, there are billions of molecules that once touched the wings of insects, the lips of rivers, the surface of stars. The lightest elements here were born not on this planet, but in the hearts of long-dead suns. Sometimes, you can feel the age of the air in the scent of a coming storm, in the taste of salt on the wind, in the cold bite of morning. The atmosphere is a living archive, remembering where it has been. It holds the breath of extinct creatures, the smoke of ancient fires, the pollen of vanished forests. To breathe is to commune with history. And yet, for all its age, the air is soft. It bends around us effortlessly. It lifts birds, carries seeds, spreads warmth and rain. It erases the sharp edges of temperature, distributing calm where it can. At high altitudes, where the atmosphere thins, the world grows quiet. The wind becomes a whisper, the sky darkens into a deeper blue. There, above the noise of human life, you begin to sense the fragility of this envelope just a few dozen kilometers thick, and beyond it, silence forever. It is astonishing that something so delicate can cradle an entire planet. The air does not shout its importance, it hums it, gently. We exist only because this layer persists invisible, yet perfectly tuned. At sunset, when the light bends low, the air paints the sky with color. Red, gold, violet, not colors that live in the sky itself, but the result of air scattering light. Every evening's glow is a reminder that invisibility can still create beauty. Even the clouds, drifting and dissolving, are part of air's memory. Water vapor rises from ocean and forest alike, gathers into forms, and returns as rain. The same molecules that float above the mountains, tonight may fall as snow in another season. The sky and the sea are not opposites, they are reflections of each other, joined by the breath of the world. When we speak, when we sing, even when we whisper, we shape air. The voice is simply wind made human. Every word we've ever spoken has been carried away by this same medium, fading, mixing, becoming anonymous again in the great atmospheric tide. Our stories, too, dissolve into it. And perhaps that's the comfort of air, that nothing truly ends within it. A breath exhaled in grief, in laughter, in love. All of them join the same current, indistinguishable, eternal. The planet keeps breathing us in and out, patient and unchanged. Somewhere, high above, jet streams flow like invisible rivers. They circle the earth in steady loops, steering weather, linking continents. On clear nights, their paths reflect the faint glimmer of moonlight, thin, shining threads of motion woven into the dark. The world is stitched together by wind. When you step outside at night and feel that soft current on your skin, remember, the air that touches you has touched everything. It has brushed the face of deserts, passed through coral reefs, glided over frozen lakes. You are never apart from the rest of the world. You are immersed in it. The air you exhale will become someone else's inhale. The warmth from your body will rise, spread, cool, and eventually descend as part of a morning breeze. Nothing is wasted. Nothing stops. And as you rest, the air continues its slow turning, carrying dust from the Sahara to the Amazon, carrying pollen across oceans, carrying whispers between continents. Even when you sleep, the world is still exchanging breath. The air never dies. It only changes form, flowing from lungs to leaf, from ocean to sky, from life to life again. So breathe deeply, not to fill yourself, but to remember that you already belong to this motion. The same wind that moves the clouds above you will one day touch the soil below you. The same molecules that drift through your lungs tonight will carry your warmth into another dawn. Inhale. The planet breathes in with you. Exhale. And somewhere, the wind continues your sentence. Look up. Even when the sky seems empty, it is full of movement. Invisible vapor is rising, cooling, gathering. Somewhere, far above, a cloud is being born slow, silent, weightless. A cloud begins with a whisper of warmth. Sunlight heats the ground, and water from oceans, rivers, and leaves lifts into the air. The molecules climb higher, where the air cools and slows. Tiny particles, dust, salt, pollen, give them something to hold onto. Around each one, droplets gather, so small that billions of them weigh almost nothing. Together, they become a visible softness. That's all a cloud really is. Billions of tiny droplets, suspended between earth and sky, light enough to float, heavy enough to fall. It is water practicing balance. From below, clouds seem weightless. But a single, average cumulus cloud can hold hundreds of tons of water, more than a small lake, drifting quietly overhead. And yet, it moves like silk. The wind guides it. Sunlight shapes it. Its edges dissolve even as they form. Watch one long enough and you'll see it transform. What was once a tower becomes a veil. What was once dense becomes air again. Clouds are time made visible, moments of transition caught in the act. Their language is light. They sculpt the color of the day. When the sun is high, clouds scatter brightness evenly, softening shadows, protecting the eyes. At dawn and dusk, they borrow the fire of the horizon and return it in golds, pinks, and violets. Each sunset is not painted by the sun, but by the clouds reflecting it. There are names for all their forms. Cumulus, the cotton towers of summer. Stratus, the grey sheets of calm days. Cirrus, delicate feathers of ice that live high where air thins into silence. Nimbus, the dark, gatherers of rain, but names can't capture their movement. A cloud's true identity is change. If you've ever watched clouds on a slow afternoon, you know the trance they create. You begin to see shapes, mountains, faces, stories that vanish as quickly as they form. It's a gentle illusion, the mind's way of dancing with the sky. In their drifting, clouds teach us to release, to admire, then let go. High above the weather we know, cirrus clouds stretch in strands of frozen vapor. They move faster than they appear, swept along by winds stronger than any on Earth's surface. Each filament is made of ice crystals, glinting like dust caught in sunlight. If you could stand among them, you'd see the world below as a soft blue curve, endless and still. Far below, thicker clouds build, like architecture towers of vapor, rising miles high, their tops glowing white, their bases grey and heavy. These are the breath of warm air meeting cool, the atmosphere exhaling its complexity. Inside them, electric currents form, water collides with ice, and light prepares its brief performance, lightning. Even in their power, there is order, charge meeting balance, imbalance meeting calm again. Not all clouds bring rain. Some travel the world without ever releasing a drop. They exist simply to drift, to shield, to soften the light. Over deserts, they blur the sun into a pale disk. Over mountains, they cling to peaks like scarves. Over oceans, they march in vast formations, reflecting sunlight back to space and keeping the planet cool. In their quiet way, clouds regulate life. They are the Earth's gentle thermostats, its mirrors, its moving blankets. Too few, and the planet warms. Too many, and it chills. Even chaos here has purpose. When you fly above them, the perspective reverses. What seems grey and heavy from below becomes dazzling from above. A field of white stretching to the horizon, glowing like snow in sunlight. It's hard not to feel peace in that view, knowing that what looks stormy from the ground can be serenity just a little higher up. The difference between turbulence and tranquility is sometimes only altitude. At night, the moon turns clouds into luminous ghosts. They catch its light and glow softly, drifting across the stars. The ancient poets called them sailors of the sky. They move with no destination, guided only by wind and patience. If you lie beneath them long enough, you'll notice something subtle. They move in layers. The lower clouds crawl, the middle ones glide, the high ones race. The atmosphere is a stack of invisible rivers, each flowing in its own direction. The clouds are just the surface ripples of that current. When rain finally falls, it's not the cloud's end, just its next shape. The droplets descend, gather, flow, evaporate, rise again. The same water will become another cloud someday, perhaps on the other side of the world. Even in dissolution, there is continuity. To watch clouds is to practice gentle attention. You cannot hold them, cannot predict their next shape. You can only observe. That act, simply watching, without control, slows the mind to the sky's own tempo. It's a kind of meditation written in vapor. Children see shapes, scientists see data, artists see color. But clouds ask for nothing, they drift for everyone equally. Their gift is impartial beauty. And perhaps that is why clouds comfort us. They remind us that change itself can be calm. That movement does not always mean urgency. That disappearance can be a kind of grace. As the evening deepens, the last light folds through them in ribbons of amber and violet. The day exhales. The clouds thin, rise, and fade into transparency. The stars return, as if unveiled. The sky empties, but the air remains full of the memory of all that passed through it. Even now, in the dark, clouds still move somewhere over oceans, over mountains, unseen but constant. They drift in, silence, holding tomorrow's rain. So close your eyes for a moment and imagine them above you. Soft, luminous, unhurried. They are the sky's slow dancers, and tonight, they move at the pace of your breath. When the last light fades and the air cools, the world exhales. Day withdraws softly, leaving behind a calm so complete it feels alive. This is the hour when everything loosens sound, color, thought. The night arrives not as an absence, but as a shelter. From space, night is not darkness, but balance. Half the planet turns toward rest, while the other half faces light. It's the rhythm of existence, every creature taking its turn beneath the shade. The earth does not sleep, it simply rotates through calm. To stand beneath a clear sky at night is to be surrounded by time itself. Each star is a message from long ago light that began its journey millions of years before your birth, and only now touches your eyes. Even in the quietest moment, the universe is reaching out across eternity, just to be seen. That light doesn't rush, it travels patiently, at the only speed the cosmos allows. In its slow arrival is reassurance. Everything unfolds in its own time. The ancients feared the dark until they learned to listen to it. They found constellations in its depth stories, written in the language of distance. The hunter, the swan, the serpent, the queen. But those names are only metaphors for comfort. Maps made to remind the mind that even in the unknown, there is order. If you step outside on a moonlit night, the world looks washed in silver. Shadows soften, edges blur. It's a different kind of light borrowed, reflective, forgiving. The moon takes the sun's fire and turns it into something the heart can bear. The moon's pull, the same one that moves the tides, moves the mind too. It reminds us that even stillness is part of motion, the planet spinning, the satellite circling, the universe expanding, all happening in perfect quiet. You are surrounded by motion, yet nothing feels hurried. At night, air cools and sinks, leaves close their pores, flowers fold inward, cities dim, oceans calm, forests rest. Even the wind lowers its voice. The world is practicing the art of lowering its heartbeat. The human body responds in kind. The hormone melatonin rises with the darkness, signaling that it is safe to rest. Muscles loosen, thoughts slow, breathing deepens. It's not simply habit, it's biology, the planet's rotation, written into your blood. Night is your oldest rhythm. For nocturnal creatures, this hour is not sleep but waking. Moths flutter between pale flowers that bloom only for the dark. Owls turn their heads in perfect silence, their feathers engineered to muffle sound. Foxes move like thoughts across the grass, unseen but aware. Even in darkness, life continues not hidden, just softer. If you've ever lain awake at night and felt the weight of quiet pressing against the window, you've touched something ancient. The same hush that covered the earth long before language, long before fire. It's the sound of the planet thinking slowly. There is a misconception that darkness is empty. In truth, it's full of rest, of repair, of unseen renewal. Plants use the night to rebuild the sugars they made from sunlight. The atmosphere cools and redistributes its energy. Oceans radiate back the warmth they gathered through the day. Even stars, those distant furnaces, live inside a universe wrapped in darkness. Light needs it to be visible. Psychologists sometimes call nighttime the mind's ocean. Thoughts drift differently here, slower, deeper, more reflective. The dark offers perspective that daylight conceals. You notice the small sounds, a clock ticking, the sigh of the house, your own breathing. In the hush, everything feels closer to its essence. Night also teaches trust. You cannot see everything, yet you continue moving, continue breathing. You learn to navigate by less, by memory, by intuition, by faint glimmers of light. There is serenity in that surrender. Astronomers say that the darkness between stars is not empty at all, but filled with dust, with faint radiation, with the echoes of the Big Bang itself. The silence we feel at night is the same one that existed before the first galaxies formed. When you close your eyes, you are touching that origin, the calm before creation. Sometimes, when the moon hides and the stars fade behind clouds, the night feels endless. But even then, light is on its way back. The dawn always waits, just beyond the curve of the earth. No matter how long the night, morning will come not as an intrusion, but as a continuation. In that certainty lies peace. You don't need to chase the sunrise. It will find you. You don't need to hold the darkness away. It's already holding you. When you watch the night sky, you are looking not upward, but outward into distance, into time, into the grand patience of existence. Every photon that reaches you tonight has survived collisions, gravity, and emptiness. It traveled through silence so that you could see it for a heartbeat before it moves on. Even sleep itself is a kind of night sky, the mind releasing daylight's weight, floating among its own constellations. Dreams are how consciousness remembers that imagination and universe are made of the same material. As you lie in darkness, your body cooling to match the air, remember, you are safe here. The night is not against you. It's an ancient rhythm designed to protect, to quiet, to heal, to remind you that stillness is part of the cycle. The same darkness that covers the oceans now also rests on mountain peaks, deserts, cities, and forests. You share this night with every living thing. Even in sleep, connection remains. Outside your window, somewhere in the sky, a faint wind is shifting clouds. The stars flicker softly. The moon drifts in its orbit, and the air moves gently across continents. The planet breathes slowly beneath a blanket of calm. Let it move, and rest, and continue. Let night do what it has always done. Protect you from the noise of light. Remind you that silence, too, is part of creation. Close your eyes. The darkness is not the end of the day. It is the beginning of peace. Every mountain began as motion. What looks unmoving now, the calm silhouette against the horizon, the eternal line of stone, was once alive with fire. Deep beneath the crust of the planet, pressure builds in darkness. Rock melts, flows, and folds. Heat turns solid matter into slow rivers of stone. Over millions of years, the earth breathes upward, pushing land toward the sky. From that ancient exhalation, mountains are born. The Himalayas were once the floor of a vanished sea. The Alps began as sediment at the bottom of an ocean. The Andes rose from the depths, carrying fossils to the clouds. Even the smallest hill outside your window carries the memory of ancient fire, compressed and cooled into form. To stand on a mountain is to stand on frozen movement, a wave of the earth caught mid-rise. Its stillness is only an illusion of time, too large for us to see. What seems eternal to human eyes is, to the planet, a moment in its long dream. Imagine watching that formation sped up, continents drifting, colliding, folding like sheets of paper. Oceans vanish, peaks emerge, valleys open where pressure releases. The world grows itself, rearranging slowly, beautifully. Inside every mountain lies a record of those movements, layers of rock, each a page in the planet's autobiography. Basalt, granite, limestone, quartz. Some born from volcanic fire, others from compressed sand and coral. In each stratum is an era, an ancient day turned to stone. When we break open a rock and see its crystals glittering, we are looking into the memory of molten light. Each crystal cooled at its own pace, arranging itself into silent geometry. The symmetry of minerals is time's handwriting, perfect, patient, mathematical. Volcanoes remind us that this calm is temporary. The fire still breathes below. Sometimes, the planet sighs through cracks, releasing the heat that built the mountains in the first place. Lava spills, new rock forms, and the cycle continues. Creation and destruction here are the same act seen from different distances. A mountain's erosion is just as sacred as its rise. Rain carves it, frost splits it, wind smooths its bones. Grain by grain, the giant returns to dust, feeding rivers, building valleys, giving birth to soil. The mountain that stood as a monument becomes the ground for new forests, new life. In the long rhythm of geology, nothing stands forever, everything becomes foundation. In many cultures, mountains are seen as the meeting place between earth and sky, the axis where heaven touches ground. Ancient people built temples and altars on peaks, sensing their stillness as sacred. But perhaps their holiness lies not in height, but in endurance. To endure is its own kind of prayer. Even the smallest pebble in a riverbed shares that story. Once, it was part of a vast cliff, torn away by time, tumbled and smoothed by water until it fit perfectly in your palm. You can feel the patience of the planet in its rounded edges. It has been traveling for millions of years without complaint. The colors in stone are the world's palette of memory. Iron makes red, copper gives green, sulfur glows yellow. Under certain lights, quartz catches rainbows, basalt drinks the dark, and marble glows from within. These are not decorations, they are fingerprints of chemical transformation, traces of fire cooled into beauty. If you press your ear to a rock, you hear nothing but what you are touching is time itself. Each grain is a fragment of something older. The dust of meteorites, the shells of vanished creatures, the sediment of forgotten storms. The ground beneath your feet is the past made solid. And yet, despite their age, mountains are alive in their own slow way. They rise and fall, flex and breathe. Gravity pulls them down, while tectonic plates push them up. The balance between those forces is motion stretched across eternity. In the high places, air thins, sound fades, and thought slows. The silence of altitude is not emptiness, but density. So much history compressed into so little movement. It's as though the planet, at its tallest points, pauses to reflect. Snow gathers on peaks, melts into rivers, and feeds the lowlands. Mountains hold water as memory, releasing it gently through seasons. Their glaciers are time-made visible layers of ancient snowfall stacked in translucent record. A drop of meltwater from a glacier may have been frozen since before the first human drew breath. To climb a mountain is to walk upward through time. The rocks at your feet become older as you ascend hundreds of millions of years older with every step. Each layer tells of vanished oceans, extinct species, and climates that came and went, long before our kind existed. Reaching the summit is like standing at the edge of history, looking down at all the ages that built you. When wind brushes across a peak, it whistles through cracks and hollows, creating notes that echo far below. Some travelers say mountains sing not metaphorically, but truly. It's the resonance of air and stone, of mass and movement. The planet plays itself like an instrument tuned by time. At night, the mountains seem to glow faintly under starlight, their edges silver, their shadows endless. From their stillness, you can feel the pulse of the earth, a slow, steady vibration rising from the deep. Beneath miles of crust, magma moves with patient force, keeping the world alive. Mountains teach that peace and power can coexist. They remind us that strength need not be loud, that endurance, not speed, shapes creation. So when you look toward a mountain even from far away, remember what you're seeing, the memory of fire transformed into calm. The Earth's own proof that even chaos, given time, becomes form. And one day, these same peaks will wear down, their dust carried to the ocean, settling on the seafloor to become rock once more. Millions of years later, that rock may rise, again, reborn as another range beneath another sky. The planet is patient. The mountains do not hurry. They remember the fire that made them, but they no longer burn. Beneath your feet, the world is alive. It does not show it on the surface. The soil feels cool, the rocks still, the ground unwavering. But deep below, the earth is quietly exhaling heat. The crust we walk on is a thin shell, rarely more than a few dozen kilometers thick. Beneath it lies the mantle, an ocean of rock that moves not like liquid, not like solid, but something in between. It flows slowly, endlessly, carrying warmth from the core toward the surface. This heat is ancient. Some of it is left over from the planet's birth, the energy trapped when dust and gas first collided to form Earth. The rest comes from the steady decay of radioactive elements deep within, a kind of internal heartbeat that has kept the planet warm for billions of years. Without that warmth, the world would be silent and still. No mountains, no oceans, no life. It's strange to think that every rock, even the coldest one, remembers this heat. The atoms within it still vibrate faintly, keeping rhythm with the slow pulse of the Earth. If you could listen closely enough, beneath the silence, you'd hear motion minerals expanding, contracting, whispering in molecular voices. When magma rises through the crust, it does so with infinite patience. It moves inches per year, finding cracks, waiting, cooling, pausing. Sometimes it never reaches the surface. Instead, it stops midway, solidifying into chambers of molten memory. Centuries later, erosion reveals them as granite cliffs, their slow fire preserved in stone. Basalt, the black rock born of cooling lava, carries that memory vividly. Its surface often forms into hexagonal columns, a natural geometry created by cooling evenly in all directions. To see such formations is to witness time turning temperature into shape. The planet's crust breathes in, cycles. Volcanoes exhale gas and molten rock, then rest. Fumaroles hiss quietly, releasing sulfur and steam like sighs. Geysers pulse with heat that began miles below, shooting into the air before cooling again into stillness. Even earthquakes, though they seem sudden, are part of this breathing, the crust adjusting, releasing tension it has held for centuries. Every mineral within the Earth holds a record of temperature and pressure. Diamonds, for instance, are carbon rearranged by unimaginable force, born deep in the mantle, where heat and pressure transform the simplest element into something transparent and eternal. To hold one is to touch the memory of the deep. Quartz, by contrast, grows slowly in cooler rock, forming crystals molecule by molecule. Their clarity comes not from speed, but from stillness. They expand as the Earth cools, one atom at a time, until the pattern is perfect. Each facet is an echo of the same mathematics that shapes snowflakes and galaxies. Even in their differences, all stones share a single truth. They began as motion and became rest. Some still glow faintly with the warmth of creation, others lie cold and patient, waiting to be transformed again. The rock cycle, melting, cooling, weathering, compressing, melting again, is the planet's slow respiration. Fire becomes stone, stone becomes dust, dust becomes fire once more. If you pick up a pebble from a riverbank, you are holding a traveler. It may have journeyed from a volcanic eruption 100 million years ago. It has been crushed, carried, rounded, and worn smooth by water that never stops moving. It seems inert, but inside its crystalline lattice, atoms still dance, a quiet thermal motion that never ends. Even the stillest matter vibrates. In some caves, deep under mountains, the air is warmer than the surface. The stone there glows faintly in infrared light, radiating energy drawn from the heart of the planet. Stand in that heat long enough, and you begin to realize the world is not cooling, it is breathing, exhaling slowly, sharing warmth with whatever lives above. Early humans must have sensed this vitality. They built fires in caves and watched as the heat met the stone, a communion of flame and earth. They carved into rock, leaving marks that still survive, not only because stone is durable, but because it feels alive enough to remember. In the deserts of the world, rocks expand in the day and contract at night. This daily breathing breaks them apart grain by grain, forming sand. Even without wind or water, temperature alone reshapes the land. It's as if the planet's pulse is written in every crack, every grain of dust. Some minerals glow faintly when warmed, a ghostly radiance called thermoluminescence. It's light, trapped for centuries, released only when touched by heat. The stone literally sighs with photons. Even in darkness, the memory of fire lingers. If you could see the Earth through thermal eyes, it would shimmer not evenly, but alive with gradients of warmth. Volcanoes and rifts would glow like embers. Mountain roots, where rock still flows slowly, would pulse like arteries. The deep sea vents, where life began, would flicker with invisible fire. The entire planet is a dim lantern floating in space, lit from within by its own ancient breath. That warmth, though we seldom feel it directly, sustains us. It drives the movement of continents, feeds hydrothermal life in the deep, and shapes the magnetic field that protects us from cosmic storms. Even the calmest surface owes its existence to the fire below. Perhaps that's the truest definition of balance. Heat and stillness, sharing the same space. The mountain stands quiet, but it is built on motion. The stone feels cold, but its heart burns. The earth appears stable only because its changes are slower than our lifetimes. You, too, are made of warmth hidden beneath calm. The same radioactive decay that fuels the mantle fuels the mental energy in your cells. The same atomic dance that keeps magma moving also keeps your heart alive. You and the planet are powered by the same invisible fire. So, when you touch stone, the wall of a cave, a smooth pebble, a mountain face, remember that you are touching the slow exhale of the earth. The warmth you feel, however faint, is the echo of creation. The stones breathe heat, not in air, but in silence. Not in haste, but in patience. Their breath is measured in millennia, and through them, the planet continues its quiet promise to stay warm, to keep moving, to keep turning in the dark. Beneath everything you have ever known, beneath cities, rivers, forests, oceans, there is the same quiet foundation, the ground. It carries the weight of mountains and the footsteps of children with the same calm acceptance. It holds everything, asks for nothing, and remembers all. The soil beneath you is not just dirt. It is a living skin, layered over the bones of the planet. Within it are the remains of everything that ever grew, breathed, or fell. Leaves, shells, bones, dust, all folded into one patient memory. What you stand on tonight is a mosaic of time, stitched together by gravity and rain. Every handful of soil contains more life than there are people on Earth. Invisible communities of fungi, bacteria, and roots, busy with creation. They break down what was once alive and turn it into nourishment again. The forest floor is an endless act of quiet generosity. Every death becomes food. Every ending, a beginning. If you kneel and touch the ground, it feels cool, but not dead. That temperature is the planet's calm pulse heat from below, balanced by the breath of the sky above. The earth beneath your hand is older than language, older than the ocean's shape, older even than the moon. It is the silence from which everything else rises. In the desert, the ground is memory. In the forest, it is womb. In the mountains, it is spine. In the plains, it is horizon. Everywhere, it is home. We think of ground as solid, but it moves slowly, invisibly. The crust shifts by millimeters each year. Continents drift, collide, separate. Even here, beneath stillness, there is motion. The planet never stops adjusting, breathing, balancing its immense weight. When it rains, the soil softens and drinks deeply, pulling water toward its roots. When the sun returns, it exhales moisture back into the air. In this way, the earth breathes through the ground. Inhale, exhale every hour, every season, every age. The scent that rises from soil after rain, that deep, calming smell, comes from a molecule called geosmin, created by tiny bacteria as they work. It's one of the most comforting scents known to humans, perhaps because it connects us to safety, to nourishment, to home. To smell it is to remember, without words, that we belong here. Ancient people knew this instinctively. They built altars from clay, buried offerings in the soil, painted their walls with pigments made from crushed stone. They understood that Earth was not beneath life, but part of it, a shared body between sky and underworld, between birth and return. Every structure we make, every step we take, every seed we plant depends on that patient support. We rarely think about it, but the ground never leaves. It is the one surface we can always fall back on. Its silence is not emptiness, it is endurance. When animals sleep, they curl against the earth. When trees grow, their roots sink into it. When rain falls, it listens. The ground absorbs everything not to erase it, but to transform it. It takes the noise of the world and turns it into growth. Somewhere, deep below, the pressure of time is making stone. Sediments compress, minerals crystallize, layers stack upon layers. The ground beneath you now is already becoming the mountains of the future. Every grain of sand will find its way back to form. The planet is never idle. In the caves where early humans sought warmth, they left handprints on the walls, marks made in ochre and dust. Those prints still remain, tens of thousands of years later, fingers outstretched toward the same earth that holds you now. It's as if they were saying, "We are here, and we are part of this." When you lie down at night, the earth supports you in ways no other element can. Air moves, water flows, fire consumes, but earth remains. It is constant, patient, unshakable in its purpose. Even when it trembles, it returns to stillness. If you close your eyes and imagine yourself sinking gently into the soil, not falling, not buried, just resting, you can feel its weightless weight. You are part of that structure. The minerals in your body, the iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, all came from this same ground. Someday, they will return to it. That is not tragedy. It is completion. The planet recycles not out of necessity, but grace. The soil welcomes everything back, without judgment. Rain, root, ash, bone, all are equal once they touch the ground. It is the most compassionate system in the universe. Even as you sleep, the earth moves beneath you, tectonic plates shifting, magma circulating, roots spreading, worms tunneling. It works silently to make room for more life. Its patience is infinite, because it has no concept of time, only continuation. Perhaps that's why lying on the ground feels so calming. The body recognizes its origin. Your heartbeat slows, matching the planet's pulse. The soil beneath you feels like an embrace, not because it moves, but because it doesn't need to. If you listen closely, not with ears, but with presence, you can sense the deep hum that rises from below. It's the sound of vibration, of magma, of life quietly rearranging itself. Scientists call it microseismic noise. The planet is never truly silent. It sings in frequencies too low to hear, too ancient to measure. That song has been playing since the beginning, and it will continue long after we are gone. The ground doesn't mourn what passes, it incorporates it. When you wake tomorrow and step outside, notice how the ground greets you, unchanging, dependable, steady beneath whatever weather the day brings. That steadiness is not ordinary. It's the planet's promise. I will hold you. So rest now. Let the earth carry your weight. Let it remind you that you are already home, already part of something vast and kind. The ground beneath dreams is the same ground beneath stars, constant, patient, alive. You are standing, breathing, and sleeping on history itself. And the earth, ancient and unwavering, is glad to have you here. The smallest lives on earth make the greatest difference. You cannot see them, but they are everywhere, in every drop of water, every handful of soil, every breath of air. They are the planet's quiet workers, building, cleaning, and sustaining the very conditions that make life possible. Long before trees learned to breathe, before the oceans turned blue, before animals walked on land, the world belonged entirely to them, to the microscopic. It was their patience that created everything else. In the ancient seas, cyanobacteria, tiny blue-green cells, learned to use sunlight as food. They released oxygen as waste, not knowing it would change the world. Over millions of years, they filled the atmosphere with air. Without them, the sky would still be brown, the oceans poisonous, and life as we know it would not exist. They were the first gardeners of the planet, cultivating air for the rest of us. Even now, half of the oxygen you breathe comes not from forests, but from invisible algae and plankton drifting in the sea. These single-celled organisms floating sunlight factories exhale life into the world with every shimmer of water. The ocean's surface, glittering under the sun, is a living lung. Each time a wave breaks, it sends millions of tiny organisms into the air as mist. They rise, form the seeds of clouds, and fall again as rain. Microscopic life writes the weather, paints the sky, feeds the rivers. They are the invisible heartbeat of the planet. Under the ground, another world thrives, darker, quieter, just as vital. Bacteria and fungi weave through the soil, breaking down dead leaves, wood, and bone. Returning nutrients to the roots above, they do their work without rest or recognition, transforming decay into fertility. The ground breathes because of them. A single teaspoon of soil can contain 1 billion living beings, more diversity than in all the animals of the Amazon rainforest. They communicate with chemicals, trade, minerals, build microscopic highways between roots. Some release compounds that help plants grow stronger. Others bind to toxins, cleansing the earth. Every ecosystem rests upon their invisible shoulders. Even the air above is alive. High in the atmosphere, microscopic spores and bacteria drift for months, carried by winds. They seed clouds, reflect sunlight, and sometimes even influence rain. The breath of the world carries life within it, always circulating, always returning. To a microbe, a human body is another ecosystem, warm, rich, full of niches. Trillions of microorganisms live within and upon us, forming what scientists call the microbiome. They digest our food, train our immune systems, and even influence our emotions. In a way, we are not singular beings, but small planets ourselves, hosting civilizations we can't see. When you inhale, some of these ancient species enter and leave your body, unharmed, unchanged. They have done this for billions of years, drifting between oceans, forests, and lungs, connecting every living creature through the same invisible cycle. Some microbes live in places where nothing else can, inside volcanic vents, beneath glaciers, deep in rock miles below the surface. They feed on minerals, on hydrogen, on the faint heat of the planet's core. Life, it seems, needs very little to continue, only patience. Scientists once thought of microbes as simple, but their communities are astonishingly complex. They sense one another, coordinate activity, form structures, and share genes across species. To them, individuality is flexible. Survival means collaboration. If we could see the world through microbial eyes, everything would glow: air shimmering with floating cells, soil alive with motion, oceans swirling with color. The Earth would no longer look like a rock with oceans and forests, but like a single, pulsing organism. It's humbling to realize that our atmosphere, that fragile blue film around the planet, was made by beings too small to see. The greatest architects in history left no monuments, no cities, no ruins. Their creation is the sky itself, and they continue their work. When forests burn, microbes return to rebuild the soil. When glaciers retreat, they arrive first, creating new ground for moss and grass. They are the planet's first responders and its last caretakers. Even in death, they give life. When a living thing ends, microbes begin their quiet ritual, breaking down flesh, releasing nutrients, closing the loop. It's not decay, in the cruel sense, but transformation, a return to participation. Without them, the world would fill with what could no longer move. Because of them, everything moves again. In every inhale, there are traces of this ancient world, fragments of bacterial DNA, tiny grains of pollen, invisible dust carrying the scent of faraway forests. You are breathing in the work of 1 trillion unseen hands. To the tired mind, this might sound vast and impersonal. But it's the opposite. It's intimacy at the largest scale. You are not separate from the microscopic. You are one of its expressions. Your cells, your thoughts, your sleep, all depend on the cooperation of the smallest lives imaginable. The next time you walk through a forest or stand by the sea, imagine the invisible beneath your feet and around your body. Entire worlds are thriving. The surface of a leaf is a continent to them. A drop of dew, an ocean. Your skin, a landscape of warmth and shelter. They ask for nothing, yet they sustain everything. They do not sleep, yet they create the conditions for your rest. When you breathe tonight, you are joining a lineage of respiration that began billions of years ago. You are not simply inhaling oxygen, you are breathing in history, collaboration, and quiet genius. The air you exhale may feed a tree tomorrow, or a microbe in a distant ocean, or drift for centuries before becoming part of another breath. Life's continuity depends not on grandeur, but on the invisible kindness of the small. So, as you drift towards sleep, remember this. Even when you feel insignificant, you are built from the most significant of all things: cooperation. The architects of air are working still unseen, patient, tireless, keeping the world alive, one breath at a time. Every wing is a quiet equation, a line, a curve, a balance between gravity and grace. When a bird lifts into the air, or a butterfly drifts across a garden, you are witnessing mathematics in motion, the geometry of survival turned into art. Flight is not chaos, its precision softened by rhythm. The air itself is invisible architecture, and wings are the language that reads it. Each feather, each vein of a wing, each tilt or angle follows the same laws that shape rivers, galaxies, and even the spirals in your fingertips. Nature does not repeat, it rhymes. Watch a butterfly. Its motion seems random, gentle, swaying, almost dreamlike. But beneath that softness lies exactness. Each flutter is a response to tiny changes in pressure and light. Its wings, covered in microscopic scales, catch air like a whisper catching sound. The edges ripple, turning resistance into lift, turbulence into dance. The mathematics is hidden inside beauty. The patterns on a butterfly's wings are not decoration. They are messages to mates, to predators, to sunlight itself. Some colors are pigments, others are structures, layers, so fine they bend light into iridescence. That shimmer you see when a wing tilts is physics made visible. In the right light, the smallest scale can hold the rainbow. The same logic extends upward to birds. Feathers are miracles of engineering, hollow, light, flexible, yet strong enough to bear the stress of flight. Their arrangement overlaps like tiles on a roof, guiding air smoothly backward. As a bird glides, the air beneath its wings moves faster than the air above, creating lift, a subtle imbalance that allows weight to become motion. Every beat of a bird's wing follows a pattern of energy efficiency that evolution perfected through patience. The albatross can glide for hours without a single flap, using the difference in wind speed between layers of air. The hummingbird, its opposite, beats its wings up to 80 times a second, creating lift on both the upstroke and downstroke, a tiny, perpetual miracle of endurance. No matter their size, all wings obey the same invisible ratios. The span, the curvature, the angle, all align with what mathematicians call the golden proportion, a balance that appears again and again in living forms. Shells, leaves, galaxies, and wings all share this symmetry, as if the universe writes beauty in a single repeating language. Even insects too small to see clearly follow it. Dragonflies, with their glassy four-winged grace, can hover, dart, and reverse direction faster than any machine. Their flight paths are written in loops and spirals, fractals in motion. Bats, whose wings are skin stretched over bone, move like shadows sculpting air. Moths fly through darkness, guided not by sight, but by subtle changes in the wind, feeling their way through invisible geometry. When you watch a flock of birds turning together in the sky, what you see is not choreography, but connection. Each bird responds to its nearest neighbor in milliseconds, adjusting direction and speed. No one leads, yet all follow. Scientists call this emergent behavior, but to the human eye, it looks like intuition. A single organism made of hundreds of hearts. A murmuration of starlings ripples across the sunset, forming shapes that dissolve as soon as they appear. The group contracts, expands, twists, a living cloud of precision. The air between them is their shared language, translated into motion faster than thought. It is what the ocean would look like if it could fly. Even the stillness after flight carries meaning. When a bird lands and folds its wings, the lines of its body echo the shapes of mountains and rivers. Rest mirrors motion. The same symmetry that allows flight allows calm. To ancient cultures, wings were symbols of transcendence, the possibility of rising above limitation. But perhaps the real gift of wings is not escape, but harmony. They show that freedom and physics are not opposites, but partners. A bird does not defy gravity, it works with it, turning resistance into rhythm. The air itself participates. When a wing moves, it leaves behind a spiral of spinning air, a wake like a fingerprint. The pattern is called a vortex street, and it repeats endlessly through the world, in flowing water, in drifting clouds, even in the blood that moves through your veins. Motion follows the same soft mathematics everywhere. If you could slow time, you would see the elegance hidden in every flap, air curling and folding, pressure rising and falling like breath. The wing and the wind are not separate, they complete each other. Every flight is a conversation between shape and atmosphere. Humans have tried to imitate this grace for centuries. The first inventors studied birds obsessively, sketching their feathers and measuring their arcs. Modern planes still borrow the same principle: lift created by curve and flow only stretched to larger scales. Even the sound of a plane cutting through clouds carries a trace of that original whisper. There's poetry in knowing that the laws of flight are simple, but their expression infinite. A single equation can become a butterfly or an eagle, a dragonfly or a bat. Nature reuses the same rules, but never repeats the same result. Sometimes, when wind moves through a forest, leaves lift and fall together like small wings. Even trees seem to mimic the motion of flight, grounded, yet reaching. The planet dreams of rising in every form. Perhaps that's why watching wings calms the mind. Their motion feels familiar, like breathing. Inhale, lift. Exhale, glide. The cycle of effort and ease, work and rest. Even in flight, there is rhythm, not urgency. The soft mathematics of wings is not about speed or escape. It's about harmony, the delicate balance between force and surrender, between the will to rise and the wisdom to return. When you see a bird glide across dusk or a moth drift toward a porch light, remember that you're watching the oldest collaboration in nature, gravity and grace, dancing quietly in air. And as you breathe, you share the same medium, the same currents, the same invisible architecture that allows life to move. You, too, are surrounded by the soft mathematics of the world. When the air grows warm and the flowers open, a new kind of rhythm begins, one almost too soft to notice. It hums through gardens, meadows, and orchards. It is the sound of wings brushing petals, of small bodies drifting from color to color. Pollination is the planet's slow conversation. Flowers speak in fragrance. Insects answer in movement. Together, they weave the continuity of life. A quiet partnership older than language. Every flower is a signal, an invitation. Its shape, its hue, its scent, each designed over millions of years to attract a specific visitor. Some open only at dawn, others at dusk. Some smell sweet to bees, others rich to bats or moths. What seems random to us is a code written in color and perfume. Bees are the most familiar of these gardeners. Their flight looks busy, but it's methodical, a looping pattern guided by memory. A bee can remember the scent and location of hundreds of flowers, visiting them in the most efficient order possible. It sees ultraviolet patterns invisible to our eyes, maps of light that lead directly to nectar. When a bee lands, its body collects pollen like golden dust. Some of it sticks to tiny hairs. Some is carried in pouches on its legs. With each visit, it transfers life from one blossom to another, uniting them without intention. Every fruit, every seed, begins with that quiet accident. The hum of bees is more than sound, it's vibration, a physical language. They buzz at specific frequencies to release pollen from certain flowers, shaking the plant just enough to let it share. The pitch changes with purpose, high for flight, low for work, soft when returning home. The hive listens. Inside a hive, thousands move as one, no ruler, no command, only instinct woven into community. Bees fan their wings to cool the honey, feed the young, and clean each other with tender precision. The hive breathes. It lives. In its darkness, sweetness accumulates molecule by molecule, sunlight stored in liquid form. Other pollinators work in silence. At night, when the world cools and bees sleep, moths and bats take over. Some flowers bloom only in the dark, white or pale, so they can be seen by moonlight, heavy with scent that drifts through the air like music. Night blooming, jasmine, moonflower, yucca, all depend on visitors that navigate by smell and echo instead of sight. Moths move slowly, their wings dusted with silver. They hover delicately, sipping nectar with long, curling tongues. In their wake, pollen drifts invisibly, continuing the day's work beneath the stars. Bats, too, are gardeners of the night. They feed on fruit and flowers, their fur carrying pollen across great distances. The saguaro cactus, blooming once a year in the desert, depends entirely on bats to bear its seeds into the next generation. Even in arid stillness, life finds ways to collaborate. Birds join the conversation as well. Hummingbirds, hovering like living jewels, dart between blossoms that match their colors. The red of a flower, the shape of its throat, even the timing of its bloom, all evolved for a single kind of beak. When a hummingbird drinks, it becomes part of the flower's design. Every pollinator, bee, moth, bat, bird, carries the same message. Movement creates continuity. Without them, the world would fall silent in color and taste. No fruit, no honey, no wild meadow would exist as we know it. The sweetness of life depends on small motions repeated endlessly, without fanfare. Sometimes, in the soft heat of summer, you can hear that continuity, a low collective hum spread across a field. It's not loud, but it fills the air like background music for existence itself. The sound is not just wings, it's connection. Flowers, too, are participants in this patience. Their petals open and close with light. Their nectar refills overnight. Their scents shift subtly as they age. They give freely, asking only for movement in return. Even their fragility serves purpose, softness, inviting softness. When rain falls, pollinators hide. When the sun returns, they emerge as if nothing happened. A resilience too gentle to notice unless you stop and watch. The next morning, everything resumes as before, each creature knowing its part without instruction. To humans, these lives seem small, but their consequence is enormous. Every second, across the globe, billions of pollination events occur, invisible exchanges of dust and scent that sustain entire ecosystems. Our food, our forests, our very breath depend on this choreography of patience. There is a symmetry in it. The same air that carries the hum of a bee carries the scent of the flower it seeks. The world arranges itself around balance, giving and receiving, action and rest. If you sit quietly among flowers and close your eyes, you'll feel it. The air warms around you, the faint buzz draws near, pauses, and fades. The rhythm is hypnotic, a lullaby of work, so gentle, it feels like stillness. Ancient poets compared bees to souls, tireless travelers between worlds, collecting sweetness, returning home. Their honey was considered sacred, sunlight condensed, a reminder that even the smallest lives create lasting light. Perhaps that is the truest. The gift of the pollinators. They remind us that beauty is not in grand gestures, but in repetition done with care. That the world continues not through strength, but through consistency. As evening comes, the last bees return to their hives, heavy with nectar. The flowers fold, conserving their perfume for tomorrow. The air cools, and the hum softens until it becomes silence again. In that silence lies gratitude, the planet resting after a day of quiet collaboration. Every petal, every fruit, every breath of sweetness in the air is a product of that partnership. When you fall asleep tonight, know that outside, in fields and forests, the sleepy gardeners are still at work, some flying, some resting, all contributing to the endless bloom of life. Their labor is never finished and never rushed. They move as the planet moves, gently, patiently, purposefully. And tomorrow, when light returns, they will begin again, as they have for millions of years, humming softly, painting the world awake. Every river is a story written in motion. It begins as silence, a drop of rain sliding down a leaf, a bead of meltwater trickling from snow, and ends in surrender, merging with the sea that waits patiently for its return. A river never truly begins or ends. It circulates, remembering every landscape it passes through. The same molecules that now glide beneath bridges and forests once fell as rain on ancient mountains, once froze inside glaciers, once drifted in prehistoric seas. Each current is memory made liquid. High in the mountains, where air thins and clouds brush stone, rivers are born. They start as narrow threads of melt, weaving between rocks, learning to move. In their youth, they rush fast, cold, untamed, cutting through valleys with clear determination. They carve canyons and cliffs, shaping the world as they go. Their sound is the planet's laughter, sharp, musical, alive. As they travel, rivers slow, widen, deepen. They collect stories. Soil from one, slope, leaves from another, the reflection of clouds, the dust of cities. Everything they touch becomes part of them. They do not discriminate between purity and impurity, beauty and waste. They carry it all with the same grace. In this way, water practices forgiveness. It never refuses. It only transforms. The poison of one moment becomes the clarity of another, given time and sunlight and distance. Rivers are patient enough to cleanse themselves. If you stand beside a river and watch, you can feel time soften. The motion looks continuous, but it is never the same water twice. Every second, the entire body renews itself. To the eye, it seems permanent. To the molecules, it is freedom. The banks remember differently. They record the river's moods in layers of sand and silt, high floods, low droughts, seasons of calm. Every bend in the channel is a compromise between persistence and resistance. The water wants to move forward, the earth wants to stay still. Their dialogue creates shape. Wherever rivers flow, life gathers. They are the arteries of continents. Forests grow greener near their edges. Birds follow their paths across migration routes. People have built entire civilizations along their curves. The Nile, the Ganges, the Yangtze, the Amazon, each began as a trickle, each became a cradle. Rivers do not move in straight lines. They meander, looping and folding, erasing their own paths, inventing new ones. Their curves are acts of rest, water choosing ease over force. It is nature's reminder that the shortest distance is not always the most graceful. In some places, rivers vanish underground, flowing through limestone caverns in absolute darkness. There, they move soundlessly, polishing rock into smooth sculpture. Centuries later, they return to daylight as springs, cool and clear, carrying the flavor of stone. To drink from such water is to taste time. In the delta, where a river meets the sea, its energy dissolves. Silt and sand settle. The current fans outward, creating new land fertile, shimmering, alive with reeds and fish. What began as a trickle in the mountains ends as a garden at the ocean's edge. Even endings, in nature, are beginnings. The water that leaves through the delta does not disappear. The sun lifts it back into vapor, winds carry it across continents, and it falls again as rain. Somewhere far from here, perhaps in another century, those same drops will begin their journey again. The planet's memory never fades, it only changes form. There are rivers that run through deserts, feeding oases before vanishing into sand. There are rivers trapped under ice, moving unseen for thousands of years. There are rivers that flow backward, drawn by tides, and rivers that dry and return with the seasons. No two are the same, but all obey the same rhythm. To move, to give, to return. Even in sleep, you carry rivers within you. The blood in your veins follows the same branching pattern as streams and tributaries. Your heart beats with hydraulic patience, circulating warmth and nourishment. You are a landscape in miniature valleys, channels, tides. Water is our first home. Before birth, we float in a private ocean, surrounded by the gentle tide of life. When we cry for the first time, it is water that leaves our eyes. When we die, it is water that carries us back into the earth. The sound of running water has always comforted humans. Psychologists say it lowers the heart rate, synchronizing the body's rhythm to the river's pace. Perhaps it's recognition and ancient memory awakening. The mind hears continuity and finds peace. In Japanese gardens, streams are designed to sound like thought, soft enough to quiet the mind, irregular enough to hold attention. The same principle exists in nature. No two ripples sound alike, yet all are variations of one infinite lullaby. To watch a river is to learn how to move without force. It never struggles, yet it never stops. It meets obstacles by flowing around them. Even boulders, given centuries, yield to its touch. Strength through softness, that is water's secret. Sometimes, after heavy rain, rivers flood. They swell beyond their boundaries, reminding the land of their power. Yet, even then, the destruction is temporary. The soil left behind is richer, the next season greener. Renewal often looks like chaos, until time smooths it back into harmony. At night, when moonlight touches the surface, rivers turn to silver mirrors. The current carries stars downstream, reflections bending and vanishing in seconds. To stand beside that motion in the dark is to see time moving visibly, not fast, not slow, but perfectly paced. When you fall asleep tonight, the rivers will keep flowing. Across mountains, deserts, and cities, they will move unseen, tracing their old routes, connecting oceans to clouds. Somewhere, a droplet begins again. Somewhere else, one returns. All the while, the planet hums with their circulation, patient, balanced, eternal. And tomorrow, when sunlight touches the water again, the rivers will remember everything they've seen and still, they'll move forward. The sound of rain is the sound of the world remembering how to rest. It begins in silence, vapor rising, invisible, drifting on soft updrafts until it cools, condenses, and forms into tiny droplets. They cling to dust, to pollen, to microscopic salt from the sea. They gather, merge, grow heavy, until the sky exhales. And then, the world begins to breathe slower. Rain does not fall all at once. It begins tentatively, like a shy rhythm finding its pattern. A few drops touch the leaves, testing the air. Then the cadence builds steady, familiar, ancient. Each drop, a percussion of patience. The first sound you hear is high and bright rain, striking leaves, rooftops, or soil. Then it deepens, becoming background music for thought. In that rhythm, everything seems to settle. Animals quiet. Dust sinks. The air thickens with scent petrichor, the soft aroma of earth meeting water. That scent is not illusion. It's created by tiny organisms in the soil releasing oils when rain arrives. Those molecules rise into the air, reminding us of freshness, renewal, home. It is chemistry written in comfort. As the rain continues, the world changes texture. Surfaces darken, colors deepen. Roads reflect, trees glisten. The horizon blurs, as if distance itself has decided to rest. The rain connects everything. A single droplet may have fallen once as snow, evaporated from a wave, passed through a cloud over another continent. Now it lands again, continuing a journey billions of years old. No drop is ever lost. It only changes shape and sound. For plants, this is music they can drink. Leaves funnel water toward their roots. Roots absorb it and share it through veins. Forests thrive, not by hoarding rain, but by redistributing it. What one tree cannot catch, another does. Beneath the soil, networks of fungi pass moisture between them, like shared memory. The forest is one vast sponge, breathing in rhythm with the clouds. Rain moves with purpose, but without urgency. It travels as gravity instructs, yet never rushes. Even storms, for all their power, are part of balance, returning the sea's gift to the land, cooling what was too warm, cleaning what had grown heavy. When it rains, the world feels smaller. The horizon pulls closer. Sound softens. The spaces between moments widen. It becomes easier to think or not to think at all. The noise of the human world fades beneath a more ancient melody. People have always sought comfort in this sound. Across cultures, rain is the symbol of renewal, of forgiveness, of calm cycles returning. We build our lullabies around its rhythm. We fall asleep to its patience. If you listen long enough, you can hear patterns within the pattern: drops on leaves, drops on metal, drops on earth. Each surface sings in its own tone. Together, they create a natural symphony of randomness that the brain recognizes as safe. Psychologists call this pink noise, frequencies that resemble the body's own rhythms, slowing the heart, relaxing the breath. The rain teaches physiology how to rest. Sometimes the rain falls softly. Sometimes it sweeps sideways in sheets, sculpting the air. But even in its wildest form, there is beauty. Lightning and thunder, the flash and the echo, are simply sound and light caught in disagreement over timing. Both disappear as quickly as they came, leaving the same gentle drizzle behind. When the world is dry, rain is a miracle. When it falls too long, it becomes longing for light. Yet even in excess, it brings renewal. Floods leave behind fertile ground. Storms clear the air. Balance always follows imbalance, just as calm follows noise. In the city, rain transforms concrete into mirrors. Neon lights ripple on wet pavement. Footsteps echo differently. For a few hours, everything reflects, even the sky, looking back at itself in puddles. It's as though the world remembers its softness beneath all its hard edges. In the countryside, rain collects in ditches and streams, joining brooks and rivers, beginning journeys we'll never see. A droplet landing on a leaf tonight may reach the ocean years from now. Water has patience unlike anything else alive. When the rain slows, the air cools. Mist rises again, breath returning to the sky. What was heavy becomes light once more. The cycle closes, only to begin again. The world never tires of this repetition. It is its heartbeat. There is no sound more ancient than falling water. Before language, before cities, even before music, rain was already composing. Every creature that has ever lived has slept beneath its rhythm. Somewhere, 1 billion hearts have slowed to its same pulse. You can feel it even now, the soft percussion against glass, the distant roll of thunder fading, the steady rhythm of droplets becoming background to your breathing. Rain doesn't demand attention. It offers it gently, asking nothing in return. Perhaps that's why rain so often feels like memory. It reminds us of every quiet moment we've ever had, every time we've paused and listened. Each drop is a fragment of familiarity, falling again to remind us that nothing is ever truly lost. When you close your eyes, imagine it. The cool air, the scent of soil, the soft sound of water meeting earth. Each drop finds its way home, just as you are doing now, returning to stillness, to rhythm, to rest. The rain teaches without words that repetition is renewal, that falling is not failure, that to return is not to regress, but to continue. When it stops, there is a pause, that golden quiet after the last drop, when everything seems to hold its breath. Then, slowly, the sound of life returns. Birds shake their wings, leaves drip in unison. The world feels washed, lighter, unburdened, and, somewhere, in that faint shimmer of moisture on every surface, sunlight will soon return. The air will sparkle, the ground will steam, the water will rise again. The cycle continues, as it always has. The sky remembers, the earth forgives, and life, grateful and clean, begins again. When water stops moving, it does not end. It begins to dream. A lake is a pause in the planet's breath, a moment between movement and return. Rivers arrive, winds ripple, clouds lean close, and the surface responds only with softness. Nothing in nature reflects quite like a lake. It shows the world as it is, and as it imagines itself to be. At dawn, Mist rises from the surface like memory lifting from sleep. The air is cool, and the water holds the warmth of yesterday's sun. Light touches it gently, spreading in silver rings. The surface trembles, then smooths again, settling into stillness so perfect that sky and water become one. A lake does not chase the horizon, it contains it. The mountains, mirrored there, appear softer, dreamlike, their edges blurred by reflection. It's as though the earth has a secret second world, existing only on calm mornings. The clarity of lakes hides depth. Beneath the mirrored calm lies movement, slow currents, fish weaving through layers, sediment drifting down like forgotten thoughts. Even here, time never stops. It just moves at a different speed. In ancient times, people believed lakes were mirrors to other worlds, thresholds between the living and the divine. To look into still water was to look into eternity. Myths spoke of spirits beneath the surface, of gods and ancestors watching from below. But perhaps what they truly saw was themselves, life reflected in its purest form. Lakes hold memory in their layers. Each year, as leaves fall and seasons change, sediments settle, forming thin bands of history. Scientists can read these layers, like pages pollen, ash, minerals telling of droughts, fires, and blooms long gone. Even in rest, water remembers. The color of a lake depends on what it loves. Some reflect the green of forests. Some hold the gray of sky. Some, fed by glaciers, glow blue as crystal, each molecule scattering sunlight into calm brilliance. The deeper the water, the slower the light. Red disappears first, then orange, then yellow, until only blue remains. That's why deep water feels endless. It swallows time itself. When wind passes over the surface, the lake wakes. Ripples chase each other toward the shore, small waves speaking the language of air. They break softly, leaving rings that fade almost before you notice. Even in motion, a lake never hurries. At night, when the wind stills, the surface becomes a perfect mirror for the stars. The constellations shimmer twice, once above, once below, as if the sky has doubled itself to comfort the dark. Somewhere between reflection and reality, you exist too, watching both worlds at once. The sound of a lake at night is one of the quietest in the world. A distant splash, the sigh of a frog, the whisper of reeds. Each sound is gentle, rhythmic, belonging. The mind slows to match it. You begin to feel not like an observer, but a participant in stillness. Animals know the calm of lakes. Deer drink from the shallows at dawn. Birds skim the surface, wings just grazing the water. In the shallows, insects trace circular ripples that expand endlessly, each one fading without effort. Even impermanence here feels complete. To the wind, the lake is an instrument. To the light, it's a canvas. To the earth, it's a memory. To you, it's a reflection of peace. Some lakes are vast, like inland seas. The Great Lakes, the Caspian, Baikal, each holding more water than all the rivers on earth combined. Others are no larger than a footprint filled by rain. Size changes nothing about purpose. Each one mirrors the same sky, carries the same dream of stillness. In winter, lakes sleep beneath ice. The surface hardens, but below, life continues. Fish moving slowly, oxygen seeping through cracks, currents whispering under crystal. The world above seems frozen, but the water beneath still listens, still hums, even sleep. For nature is never complete stillness, only gentle emotion. When spring comes, the ice melts unevenly, breaking into plates that clink together in the wind like quiet glass bells. The sound is delicate, haunting, alive. The lake exhales again, stretching, remembering fluidity. Soon, reeds rise, insects hatch, and reflection returns. There's a moment just after rain, before dusk, when a lake holds light so evenly it seems to glow from within. The surface stops distinguishing between sky and self. The edges of the world dissolve. You can't tell where water ends and reflection begins. That illusion is the truest metaphor for peace, boundaries softened by calm. To sit beside such stillness is to understand patience. The lake does not cling to the clouds it mirrors. When wind disturbs it, it does not resist. It simply settles again, waiting, always ready to reflect once more. That is serenity, not the absence of disturbance, but the certainty of return. Sometimes, you can see the reflection of yourself in the surface, clear and fragile. It trembles with the slightest motion, reminding you that your presence, too, is part of the scene, temporary, beautiful, passing. The lake accepts even the imperfect reflection without judgment. If you drop a pebble, the rings spread outward, crossing and fading until calm returns. The lake forgives every interruption. No ripple lasts forever. Humans have always been drawn to such water, building homes by its edges, painting its stillness, meditating beside it. We instinctively trust its quiet, perhaps because we carry lakes inside us. The calm heart between thoughts, the deep reservoir beneath our emotions. When you close your eyes, imagine that calm surface. Imagine your thoughts as ripples, expanding and fading until the water stills again. Beneath that stillness lies depth, not emptiness, but clarity. You don't need to force it. It happens naturally when you stop stirring the surface. Lakes dream not because they sleep, but because they reflect everything without holding it. They let the world pass across them, image after image, season after season, always calm beneath. So tonight, let your mind become like that, still, luminous, accepting. Let reflections come and go. Let movement fade. Let the surface of your thoughts smooth until it becomes sky, because peace, like a lake, isn't found by searching for stillness. It's found by remembering that stillness has been beneath you all along. Night in the forest is not absence. It is the forest's exhale. As the last light fades, the leaves stop shimmering, the birds fall silent, and the air begins to cool. The forest does not sleep the way animals do. It slows, steadies, listens. Everything that seemed separate in the day merges into a single presence. Trees rest, though not in the way we imagine. Their branches droop slightly in the dark. Their sap flow eases. Their cells conserve energy. It's called nocturnal relaxation, the botanical version of breathing out. From space, satellites can even see it. The canopy subtly lowers each night, like a continent taking a collective breath. If you stand in the middle of such stillness, you can feel it, a hush that isn't empty, but alive with patience. Insects soften their hum. The wind becomes gentler. The scent of the earth grows richer as moisture rises from the soil. The forest begins to dream. During the day, trees are architects of light. They catch it, translate it, turn it into sugar and shade. At night, that work pauses. The exchange of gases slows. The great machinery of photosynthesis takes its rest, allowing the forest to simply be, not building, not striving, only existing. Even in that rest, there is communication. Underground, roots continue their conversations through networks of fungi, the mycorrhizal web that connects every tree. Chemical messages drift through the soil like whispers, carrying information about drought, nutrients, and danger. The forest never truly stops talking. It only lowers its voice. Small creatures take over the night shift. Moths visit the blossoms that daytime bees ignore. Owls glide between trunks, their flight utterly silent, feathers shaped to erase their own sound. Foxes move through ferns without breaking them. Bats trace invisible arcs overhead, reading the air with echoes. The nocturnal world is not asleep, it's simply in another rhythm. If you listen carefully, the forest has its own heartbeat. It's not a sound, but a rhythm in the air, leaves stirring, branches creaking, far-off water whispering through moss. To some, it feels like listening to time itself breathe. The trees above are slow lungs. They breathe in carbon, breathe out life. Even as they rest, they maintain the balance that lets everything else continue. While we sleep, they clean the air we will wake into. On cool nights, dew gathers on needles and leaves, condensing from the forest's own breath. By morning, that moisture will drip into the soil, feeding roots that never stopped reaching. Sleep, in nature, is not stillness. It's slow maintenance. In the far north, during long winters, trees sleep more deeply. Their metabolism slows almost to nothing. Inside their trunks, antifreeze-like compounds prevent ice from bursting their cells. They endure months without light or warmth, waiting. When spring returns, they wake gently, stretching in sap and bud, as if resuming a dream they never left. Every forest, wherever it grows tropical, boreal, temperate, has its nightly rhythm. Leaves close or open, depending on humidity, flowers that bloom only by moonlight release their perfumes. Vines twist imperceptibly, following unseen cues of moisture and heat. Even decay continues in the dark, fungi glowing faintly, feeding the soil with light too dim for human eyes. Sometimes, a faint glow appears on fallen logs, foxfire, bioluminescent mycelium. In complete darkness, it's visible as a greenish shimmer among the roots. For centuries, travelers thought spirits lived there. In truth, it's chemistry at rest, enzymes meeting oxygen, creating light without flame. The forest, even sleeping, remembers the stars. If you lie on the forest floor at night, you can feel the earth's slow pulse beneath your body. The soil is warm, alive. Worms move through it. Roots expand invisibly. Moisture slides through capillaries thinner than hair. The surface may be quiet, but below, it's as busy as any city. The forest's sleep is communal. Each being depends on the other's rhythm. When the canopy rests, the undergrowth receives more dew. When insects quiet, owls can hunt. When wind stills, seeds fall straight to soil. Everything participates in the same lullaby. In the tropics, rain often arrives at night, soft, rhythmic, welcomed. The sound blends with the hum of life, filling the air with continuity. When it stops, the silence feels fuller, like the world has taken a deep drink. To human senses, nighttime in the forest can feel mysterious, the depth of shadows, the whispers of unseen wings. But beneath that mystery is harmony. Nothing hides to frighten. Everything hides to rest. The scent of pine at night is stronger because the air is cooler and stiller. The oils that trees release linger longer. The forest smells like itself, green, dark, eternal. To breathe there is to feel anchored, as though the air remembers your shape. When dawn approaches, the first light arrives softly, not with color but with awareness. The canopy lifts fractionally. Birds stir. Insects resume their faint vibrations. The forest wakes gradually, like a body stretching before movement. But even as it wakes, traces of its sleep remain: moisture on moss, still air between trunks, calm woven into every sound. The forest remembers its rest, and that memory sustains its day. Humans, too, are part of this rhythm, though we often forget. Our nervous systems calm in forests because we evolved among them, our biology tuned to the quiet conversation of leaves and light. The heartbeat slows, the breath deepens, the mind lowers its guard. It's recognition, not relaxation. When you close your eyes tonight, imagine the forest resting with you, the trees around you lowering their branches, the ground breathing steadily beneath you, the air above, slow and safe. You are part of this network, not outside it. The same night that protects them, protects you. And as you drift, remember this: the forest sleeps not to escape the world, but to sustain it. Its rest is the renewal of everything that breathes. Beneath every step you take, there is a secret world. It is darker than night, quieter than sleep, older than language. Here, roots move like slow rivers, twisting and branching through soil that remembers everything. The surface of the forest may look still, but below it, millions of threads are alive, touching, sensing, sharing. Each root is a line of communication, each grain of earth a word in a long conversation that never stops. Scientists call this the wood wide web, a network of roots and fungi that connects trees together. It's not myth, but measurable fact. Through microscopic filaments called mycorrhizae, fungi attach to roots and extend their reach, forming pathways that carry water, minerals, and even messages between trees. Imagine it. a forest where information flows underground. When one tree is thirsty, another sends water through the fungal threads. When one is attacked by insects, it releases chemical signals that warn its neighbors to produce defenses. Even in silence, they speak not in words, but in chemistry and patience. Older trees, those that have seen centuries pass, become hubs in this network. Their roots spread wide, feeding the younger ones around them. Foresters call them mother trees. They send carbon, nitrogen, and knowledge patterns of survival encoded in chemical messages. Beneath the soil, there is family. If you could see this network with your eyes, the ground would glow lines of light weaving between trunks, pulsing with exchange. Every footstep would cross hundreds of invisible bridges, threads of life connecting everything that grows. The fungi themselves benefit too. They receive sugars from the tree's energy created by sunlight. In return, they provide minerals gathered from deeper soil, where roots cannot reach. It is a perfect partnership, a barter of trust written into biology. When you stand in a forest, you are standing atop the planet's largest living community, a democracy of species that share without greed. There is no competition here, as we imagine it, only balance. When one tree falls, the others adjust, redistributing light, nutrients, and space. The forest absorbs the loss, turning death into nourishment. Even decay is a language. Fallen leaves feed fungi, which in turn feed roots. What decomposes in one season becomes foundation for the next. The forest's silence is not emptiness, it's harmony so complete that it doesn't need sound. Roots grow toward what they need: moisture, minerals, connection. They avoid the roots of rivals and embrace those of kin. When roots from the same tree meet, they fuse, recognizing each other through chemical cues. When roots from strangers cross, they negotiate boundaries through the exchange of mild electric signals. It is diplomacy written in ions. If you kneel and touch the soil, you are touching an entire world of motion you cannot feel. A teaspoon of forest earth can hold several miles of fungal threads, thinner than hairs, each carrying information across the ecosystem. To the tree, those filaments are as vital as blood vessels. Through them, the forest thinks. In this underground world, time moves differently. A message that takes seconds to send above ground may take hours here, yet nothing is delayed. The forest has no need for speed. It trusts in sequence. When your life spans centuries, every moment can afford to move at the pace of certainty. Roots also remember. When drought comes, trees recall which neighbors shared water and which did not. Later, when abundance returns, they repay that generosity. This reciprocity is not kindness as we define it, it is balance maintained through memory. And what of sound? Even here, where light never reaches, vibration moves. Researchers have discovered that roots respond to certain frequencies, turning toward the hum of water running nearby. The earth sings, and roots listen. It is music too deep for ears, yet everything alive responds to it. The deeper the root, the older the story. Some trees in Africa and Australia send roots more than 60 meters down, tapping into ancient aquifers, drinking water that fell as rain long before our species existed. When they draw that water upward, it rises through rings of time, feeding leaves that never knew its origin. The forest drinks memory. There is something profoundly comforting about this hidden world. It is invisible yet real, silent yet active, dark yet luminous in purpose. Beneath our noise and motion, the planet's foundation hums with gentle intelligence. Even when forests burn, the network beneath often survives. Charred trunks may fall, but the roots remain alive, connected, waiting for rain. And when it comes, the underground threads guide the regrowth, sending signals upward: it's safe. Now, begin again. The same connections exist beneath grasslands, tundra, and even deserts. Everywhere there is life, there is conversation. Every living root carries both solitude and belonging. If you imagine it clearly beneath your bed, beneath the streets, Beneath entire cities, this hidden web continues, unbroken. The earth is whispering to itself constantly, carrying life forward in currents too small for us to see. Perhaps we recognize this instinctively. That's why the smell of soil feels grounding, why lying on the ground slows the mind. The body remembers the invisible network that once held our ancestors. Every breath of oxygen you take began as communication between root and leaf, fungi and air. At night, when the forest sleeps, these exchanges continue. Sugars flow downward. Nutrients flow upward. Signals pass through darkness like soft electricity. Beneath every sleeping tree, millions of decisions are being made slow, simple, flawless. When you walk through the forest again, remember what's beneath you. Every step is carried by connection. Every fallen leaf you crush feeds the conversation below. You are not separate from it. Your breath nourishes the trees, their exhale sustains yours. You stand upon a web of trust that has lasted longer than civilization. Roots speak in silence, but their message is clear. We are one body, one memory, one patient breath. And if you listen with more than your ears, you can still hear it, that slow, unbroken hum beneath the world, saying quietly, all is connected, all is continuing. Every forest is a library without words. Its shelves are trunks, its pages are rings, its ink is time. When you look at a tree, you're not just seeing wood, you're seeing a biography written slowly in circles. Each year, as seasons pass, a tree adds a thin new ring beneath its bark. In wet years, the ring grows wide and pale. In drought, it's narrow and dark. Layer by layer, the forest records its own history. If you could read those rings like lines of text, you would see centuries of weather, fire, and recovery, years of abundance, years of struggle. Some trees have stood through the rise and fall of empires, through generations of songbirds and snowfall, through storms that turned mountains to rivers. They have no memory as we know it, but they remember everything that happened to them. The memory of a tree is not stored in thought, it's stored in form. Each bend in its trunk is a response to wind. Each scar is an answer to lightning. Each limb that grows toward the light is a decision made without words. If you walk through an old forest, you can read its collective story without needing to understand its language. A stand of pines leaning east tells you where the wind lives. Burn marks at the base of trunks whisper of past fires survived. Fallen logs, soft with moss, tell of endings that became beginnings. The forest writes only in continuity. Even the leaves remember rhythm. They open at dawn, close at dusk, adjusting not to the sun's light directly, but to an internal clock, a circadian rhythm as ancient as starlight. Trees feel time through chemistry, measuring the hours in molecules, the seasons in sap. Beneath the ground, that memory extends further still. Roots trace old paths through soil that has known them for decades. Fungi that partnered with a tree in its youth remain entwined until its final day. When the tree dies, the network does not forget it, slowly reabsorbs its nutrients, distributing them to seedlings nearby. Memory becomes nourishment. In this way, death in a forest is not an erasure, it's a release. The wood that falls returns everything it held. The nitrogen, the carbon, the sunlight caught long ago, all of it flows back into the community. Nothing is wasted. The forest remembers by transforming. Some trees live so long they witness geological patience. The bristlecone pines of California have stood for nearly 5,000 years. Their twisted forms, shaped by wind and snow. They've watched the stars drift in their slow procession, watched civilizations rise and vanish beyond their mountains. To touch one is to feel the continuity of all things. Even the youngest sapling carries ancestral memory. Its DNA encodes strategies that have been tested for millions of years. When to bud, when to bloom, when to shed, when to rest. It doesn't need to learn. It simply remembers how to survive. When storms come, trees bend rather than resist. Their fibers stretch, their roots grip, their crowns lean into the wind. The sound of a storm in a forest is not fear, it's adaptation in real time. The forest's memory includes movement. It knows how to sway. And when the storm passes, the air smells different, sharp, clean, electric. Rain has rinsed the dust from needles, released oils from leaves, awakened the ground. In that scent, the forest recalls renewal. It knows that disturbance is temporary, that balance always follows. Even fire, which seems to erase memory, often reveals it. Some species require flame to open their cones and release their seeds. Charcoal enriches the soil, feeding the next generation. The blackened trunks stand as both warning and promise. What burns is not lost, it's transcribed into the next chapter. When you walk beneath tall trees, you might feel something ancient, stirring a quiet familiarity, like recognizing a voice you've known forever. It's not imagination. The air you breathe, rich in oxygen, is the forest's exhale. The calm you feel is biochemical and spiritual at once, your body responding to molecules designed by leaves to signal safety. In Japan, this is called Shinrin-yoku, forest bathing. People walk among trees not to escape life, but to rejoin it. Heart rates slow, stress hormones drop. The mind softens into rhythm. The forest shares its memory through chemistry, reminding your body of the tempo it was made for. Each tree you pass has witnessed a different slice of time. Some remember the day lightning split them. Some remember the bird that built a nest in their hollow. Some remember the first snowfall of a century long gone. Yet, despite all this memory, the forest never looks backward. Its memory is not nostalgia. It's continuity. The fallen feed the living prepare the ground for the next. It is the purest form of remembrance, not of holding on, but of letting go in order to remain whole. At dusk, when the light softens, the trunks glow faintly, as if storing the last warmth of the day. The leaves turn their undersides to the dimming sky, showing pale silver in the breeze. The forest breathes, exhales, and waits for night again. Somewhere in that fading light, you can sense what it remembers most, not specific events, but persistence itself. To endure without bitterness, to grow again after loss, to continue no matter what passes through. You are part of that same memory. The carbon in your body was once in leaves. Your breath cycles through the lungs of trees. Your pulse echoes the rhythm of sap. You are, in every literal way, forest remembering itself. So when you walk among the trees, walk slowly. Each step stirs centuries. Each inhalation reconnects you to the memory of balance. Let the forest's patience steady you. Let its silence teach you that remembering does not always mean thinking. Sometimes, it means existing fully in the continuity of now, because the forest remembers everything and forgives everything simply by continuing to grow. If you could stand far enough away, far beyond the clouds, beyond orbit, you would see the earth breathing, not metaphorically, but truly. The oceans rise and fall, drawing in carbon, releasing it again. Forests inhale sunlight, turning it into oxygen, exhaling the same air we breathe. The winds move in great spirals, carrying warmth, moisture, and memory across continents. Every current, every storm, every leaf is part of the same rhythm. The planet's breath is vast and slow, a single exhalation lasting seasons, an inhalation measured in years. It is the quietest miracle imaginable, too big for our senses to notice, yet present in everything we touch. In the northern summer, when forests and fields burst into green, the earth exhales oxygen and draws in carbon dioxide. Satellites can see this, a faint shift in the chemistry of the air, a planetary sigh of growth. Then, as winter comes, the trees rest, and the balance reverses. The rhythm continues, inhale, exhale, synchronized with the tilt of the planet and the pulse of the Sunday. Even the oceans breathe. At the surface, microscopic plankton absorb sunlight, transforming carbon into life. When they die, they drift downward like snow, carrying that carbon into the deep, where it will rest for centuries. Then, deep currents rise again, releasing old breath back to the sky. The sea's respiration is slower than ours, but just as essential. The atmosphere is not still air. It's a living river. Winds move from equator to pole, swirling, folding, redistributing warmth like blood through a body. Clouds form, dissolve, and reform again, the planet's lungs made visible. When volcanoes erupt, the Earth exhales in fire. When rain falls, it inhales, drawing moisture back into its skin. Even deserts participate, releasing heat by night, absorbing it by day. Every rock, every grain of dust, every molecule participates in the great respiration. Our own breathing is only an echo of this larger rhythm. Every inhale you take contains atoms once part of ancient air, the breath of dinosaurs, the exhalations of forests long vanished, the sighs of oceans evaporated and reborn. The oxygen that fills your lungs was shaped by sunlight on leaves, by the work of microbes, by waves crashing on distant shores. To breathe is to join the memory of everything. Inside your chest, your lungs expand and contract roughly 20,000 times a day. Inside the Earth, that same cycle takes place on scales too grand to imagine. Centuries of growth, decades of rest, millennia of motion. The pattern repeats in fractals, from lungs to forests, from veins to rivers, from heartbeat to tide. All life obeys the same law of rhythm. The planet's heartbeat is measurable too. Scientists have found oscillations in climate and magnetic fields, subtle vibrations that repeat every few decades or centuries. These are not coincidences. They are the body language of a living world, adapting, adjusting, balancing its own chemistry with astonishing grace. Even the sky participates in this breath. The jet streams, those invisible rivers of wind, weave around the planet, carrying the scent of oceans to mountains, of forests to cities. A molecule of air exhaled in the Amazon can circle the world and enter your lungs months later. There are no boundaries in this rhythm. And yet, despite all this vastness, the planet's breath is fragile. Too much carbon, too little forest, too many wounds upon the ocean, and the rhythm falters. The balance between inhale and exhale grows uncertain. But even in imbalance, the Earth keeps trying to correct itself, as living beings do. Regeneration is written into its nature. When you stand outside and feel wind on your skin, you are feeling the movement of that global respiration. The breeze that touches your face may have drifted across deserts, oceans, and plains, carrying traces of salt, pollen, and starlight. It is the shared breath of everything alive. At night, the planet breathes differently. Without sunlight, the forests inhale oxygen and release carbon, reversing their rhythm until morning. The air cools and sinks. The oceans quiet, the winds soften. Even the Earth seems to rest. Somewhere, deep within, magma circulates slowly, heat moving like blood through unseen veins. To listen to this rhythm, you need only slow your own. Inhale, the Earth breathes in with you. Exhale, the planet releases. Your breath and the planet's are the same event at different scales. Sometimes, astronauts aboard the space station say they can see the breath of the planet, the swirling clouds, the faint haze of atmosphere, glowing blue at sunrise. They say it looks alive, as though the Earth itself were thinking. And maybe it is. To the human mind, the idea of a living planet can feel abstract. But we are living proof of its animation. Every heartbeat, every breath, every moment of warmth in our bodies comes from processes that began outside us. Sunlight turned to sugar, oxygen turned to thought. We are not guests here. We are extensions of the same metabolism. Even when we sleep, the Earth breathes for us. Winds move through the dark, rain falls in distant places, waves turn over the shore. The air that enters your lungs tonight may have drifted from coral reefs or pine forests, from glaciers or savannas. You are breathing the memory of places you've never seen. That realization can soften something deep inside, the sense of separation, the illusion of solitude. You are part of a planetary inhale, a single note in an endless song. And when you exhale, you give something back. Your breath feeds leaves. Your warmth feeds the air. Your presence ripples outward in molecules that may touch another being far away. You are not small. You are circulation itself. The planet breathes slowly. It remembers. It continues. And tonight, as you rest, it will keep breathing a soft, blue, lung turning beneath the stars, keeping time for all who live upon it. The sky is not empty. It is a living memory of light. Every shade you see, from dawn's silver to dusk's amber, is not painted onto the heavens, but born from the air itself. Molecules scatter sunlight in endless combinations, turning physics into poetry. The atmosphere is Earth's first and oldest canvas, a space where time reveals itself in color. When sunlight enters the atmosphere, it meets air, dust, and vapor. Shorter wavelengths, blues and violets, scatter in all directions, filling the sky with its familiar hue. That endless blue you see above you isn't a surface, it's light dancing, diffused through miles of invisible particles. The world appears soft because light has been softened. At sunrise, the light travels farther through the atmosphere, grazing it at an angle. The blues fade, and the longer wavelengths, reds, oranges, golds, remain. The sun doesn't rise red because it changes, but because we do. Our point of view shifts through layers of air thick with memory from the night. Dust, moisture, and temperature all conspire to shape the tone. No two dawns are ever identical, because no two skies remember the same night. As the morning brightens, the world becomes illuminated, not only from above but from within. Light bounces between leaves, windows, clouds. It fills shadows with gradients, makes water shimmer, gives shape to the unseen. The planet wakes not in noise, but in color, an orchestra of illumination that repeats daily and never repeats the same song. Clouds are the translators of this language. They scatter, reflect, absorb. They turn the sky into texture. When the day grows hot, the air lifts moisture from the sea, building clouds that tower like slow thoughts. Their whiteness is not pure, it's all colors reflected equally. When evening comes, those same clouds hold onto light for a few moments longer, glowing pink, lavender, gold, as if unwilling to let the day go. Each hue is a measure of distance, a story of light's journey. The pale glow before dawn is sunlight touching the upper atmosphere, while the world below still sleeps. The deep blue after sunset, that soft twilight that makes everything quiet, is called the blue hour, when the sun's rays bend through the curve of the earth, lingering a little longer before fading. Even darkness is not the absence of light, but its memory stretched thin. The night sky glows faintly with starlight, moonlight, and the reflected breath of cities. It is never fully black, because the universe never truly rests. High above, where the air thins, the color deepens a darker, truer blue that astronauts say feels almost liquid. From there, you can see the edge of the atmosphere as a fragile halo around the Earth, thin as a whisper, yet strong enough to hold every storm, every breath, every dawn that has ever been. Light travels here not in straight lines, but in patience. It bends through humidity, scatters through dust, refracts in ice. A single beam might pass through 10,000 raindrops before reaching your eyes, transformed along the way into a rainbow color unfolded from white, proof that simplicity hides complexity. Rainbows themselves are circular, though we see only arcs. The ground hides their lower halves. If you were high above, you'd see them whole perfect rings of color floating in mist. Every raindrop creates its own rainbow, meaning the one you see is yours alone. Light personalizes itself for every observer. The sky paints a different masterpiece for each pair of eyes. When clouds break after a storm, shafts of light descend in columns, crepuscular rays, the sun filtered through fragments of vapor. They look divine because they remind us of direction, the descent of light into shadow, hope returning to form. Even science cannot erase the feeling they inspire. At noon, when the sun stands highest, shadows shorten, colors flatten. The light, then, is factual, pure, unembellished truth. But as it lowers again, it begins to remember tenderness. The edges of things soften, shadows stretch, and the world turns reflective. Evening light is forgiving. It makes everything beautiful again. The same photons that warm your skin at sunset left the sun 8 minutes ago, traveling through 150 million kilometers of space. In that time, Countless other photons have left for other worlds, never to return. The light that touches you tonight is ancient, and yet immediate, an eternal traveler that ends its journey in your eyes. When the sun finally disappears, it leaves traces behind the afterglow, the faint green flash on the horizon, the scattered pink that clings to high clouds. These are the sky's ways of remembering brightness. The earth doesn't let go suddenly. It fades gently, as if dimming a lamp in slow motion. After dark, the moon takes its turn, not as a source of light, but as a mirror of it. Its glow is sunlight reflected off dust, softened by distance. Even reflected light can feel like comfort. The moon reminds us that even in darkness, illumination persists, sometimes borrowed, sometimes faint, but never gone. Stars emerge as the sky clears, tiny fires scattered across an infinite dome. Each one shines through layers of atmosphere that bend and shimmer, making them appear to twinkle. In truth, they burn steadily. It's our air that flickers. Even starlight, traveling for millennia, becomes part of Earth's conversation when it arrives. There are nights when the air is so still, you can see the Milky Way, a river of light across the sky. It's not a band of fog, but billions of distant suns, each one a story unfolding in silence. The sky above you contains the past in every direction. Light is time made visible. And then, as morning begins again, the cycle renews. The first pale gradient appears. The faintest outline of mountains returns. The birds begin their song. The light changes, and with it, so do we. Each dawn is the planet remembering how to be seen. Each sunset is its gentle rehearsal for sleep. The sky does not keep light. It lets it pass through, reshaped and shared. In that way, it mirrors the soul of everything alive, to receive, to transform, and to release. When you look up tomorrow, remember, the blue is not color. It is scattering. The pink is not paint. It is distance. And the light itself, its memory traveling home. Above the clouds, above the wind, there is a kind of silence that feels infinite. It isn't the silence of emptiness, it's the silence of everything being exactly as it should be. Here, sound has no medium. There is no air to carry vibration, no breeze to stir dust. The only motion is light itself, photons, crossing the void, patient and precise. Each one travels for ages, carrying a story from a star that might no longer exist. If you could stand here, looking out over the curve of Earth, you would see the thin blue line of atmosphere glowing faintly, fragile, luminous, alive. Beyond it, darkness deepens until it becomes velvet. Dots of light, scattered across eternity, seem to shimmer, not because they move, but because your heart does. The stars are not scattered randomly. They form patterns, echoes, relationships. Constellations may be human inventions, but the connections they draw mirror the ones inside us, meaning woven into vastness. For thousands of years, people have looked at these same points of light, tracing myth and hope across their positions. The stars have always been maps for both direction and wonder. Some of the light you see tonight began its journey before humans existed. Ancient radiance, traveling unbroken through time. When it reaches your eyes, it completes a voyage millions of years long, collapsing all distance into this single, fleeting moment of recognition. The universe is full of such reunions. Photons meeting, pupils, space meeting perception, infinity folding into awareness. Between those points of light lies darkness, but it is not empty. The darkness hums faintly with cosmic background radiation, the whisper of the universe's birth. That faint, uniform glow is the oldest memory we know, the aftersound of creation itself, stretched thin by time until it became silence. Every direction you look carries that same gentle echo, as if the cosmos itself still remembers the first dawn. Galaxies drift through this silence like thoughts across an endless mind. Each one contains billions of suns, each sun with its own planets, each planet its own possibilities. The scale defies comprehension, yet the feeling it gives is not fear, it's calm. Because in all that vastness, the rules are simple. Gravity pulls, light travels, time continues. There is peace in the inevitability of it. From a distance, even chaos looks ordered. Supernovas bloom like flowers, scattering elements that will, one day, form new worlds. Nebulas shimmer clouds of dust and gas that glow in ultraviolet light. Stars are born, live, and die, and from their ashes come the atoms of life. Every breath you take carries particles forged in stellar furnaces long before the sun existed. You are not beneath the stars, you are among them. The quiet between them is not absence, it is potential. Every cubic meter of space contains energy, particles flickering in and out of existence. The universe breathes too, in its own way, expansion and contraction, appearance and disappearance. The same rhythm found in tides, lungs, and trees continues here, scaled to eternity. From this vantage, the earth looks impossibly gentle, a pale glow suspended in blackness, thin clouds curling over oceans. You can't see nations or roads, only light and shadow. All of human history, every voice, every heartbeat fits into a single spark against the dark. It's humbling, but not lonely. The planet shines, because it participates in the same cosmic pattern. Warmth held in darkness, motion held in stillness, life nested inside infinite calm. Astronauts often describe something unexpected, the overview effect. A profound shift that happens when they see Earth from space. They speak of unity, of fragility, of silence that feels sacred. Many say that once you've seen the world as a whole, you can never unsee it. The divisions vanish, only connection remains. If you close your eyes now, you can feel a hint of that perspective. Imagine yourself floating in that darkness, looking back at the glowing sphere of home. Every sound you've ever heard, every storm, every whisper, is contained within that thin shell of air. You are both impossibly small and infinitely vast. The stars don't look down on us. They simply exist shining, because shining is what they know how to do. In their light, there is no judgment, no hierarchy, no rush. They burn steadily, some for billions of years, some for moments, each fulfilling its design. Even their endings, the great collapses that create black holes, are not destructions but transformations. Gravity folding light into new forms of silence. Beyond them lies even more clusters, filaments, dark matter, binding galaxies together like invisible roots. The cosmos has its own forest, its own networks of connection. The pattern repeats, from mycelium to galaxies, from neuron to nebula. The universe thinks in structures of beauty. If you listen carefully, not with ears, but with awareness, you might sense it. A faint hum, the resonance of everything moving together. The spin of planets, the drift of stars, the expansion of space, all part of one unimaginable chord, too deep and too slow for any instrument to play. The music of existence itself. Somewhere, among those stars, there may be others like us beings who look up at their own sky, wondering if they are alone. Perhaps they too feel small, and comforted by that smallness. The need to find meaning in vastness may itself be universal, the shared language of curiosity. But for now, here, tonight, the stars are enough. They are distant, yes, but their light touches you. They remind you that you are not lost in the universe. You are part of its continuity. As you breathe, imagine that starlight flowing through you, in with the air, out with the exhale photons, completing their journey in the rhythm of your lungs. You are what the cosmos does when it wants to rest and reflect. Soon, the stars will fade into dawn again. The sun will rise, flooding the silence with warmth, scattering the constellations back into memory. But the night never truly ends. It simply turns inward, waiting to return. And as you drift towards sleep, know this. The same calm that fills the silence between stars exists inside you. The same patience that holds galaxies together holds your breath. You are made of their light, cooled into form, dreaming back toward their origin. The stars are not far away. They are within you, remembering. Time does not move as we imagine. It doesn't run like a river, rushing past us in one direction. It flows outward, inward, and sometimes, in its quietest places, it seems to stop altogether. When you look up at the stars, you are looking backward, seeing light that began its journey before you were born, before your ancestors walked the earth. Some of the stars you see no longer exist, their light still crossing the void long after their fire went out. In this way, the universe is a gallery of memories still arriving. Time is light in motion, matter in conversation with change. But on Earth, where days turn gently into nights, time feels softer. It moves not in lines, but in cycles, tides, seasons, growth, rest. The planet does not count seconds. It measures rhythm. A forest does not know years. It knows sunlight and rain. A mountain does not age. It changes form. A river does not look forward or back. It only continues. Perhaps that is why the passing of time feels different when we slow down. We stop measuring it by clocks and begin feeling it as continuity, the same motion that turns galaxies and heartbeats alike. In ancient philosophy, time was not an enemy but a companion. The Greeks called it kairos, the opportune moment distinct from chronos, the ticking of seconds. One measured quantity, the other quality. The forest, the tide, and the stars live entirely in kairos. Even the ticking of a clock is only the human attempt to carve rhythm into certainty. But nature has never needed to measure what it already understands. The sunrise does not check its watch, it simply returns. If you watch clouds long enough, you start to see what time truly is: not speed, but transition. Every shape exists for a moment, then gives way to another. Nothing is lost, it's simply rearranged. The same happens within you. Cells die and renew, memories fade and reform. You are not the same person you were a year ago, yet you continue seamlessly. Time, in its purest form, is continuity, without interruption. When we feel hurried, it's because we've stepped out of rhythm. The mind moves faster than the body, imagining futures or rewriting pasts. But the body lives always in the present, in breathing, in heartbeat, in now. When both align, time stops feeling like pressure and begins feeling like presence. There are places where the sense of time dissolves entirely in deep caves, where days and nights vanish, or in deserts where shadows stretch endlessly. There, you begin to sense what physicists call space-time, distance and duration woven together. Time is not something that passes, it's something we move through. Even the atoms in your body vibrate in rhythm with the universe's clock. Cesium, the element used to define the second, oscillates exactly 9,192,631,770 times per tick. Every measurement of time is based on a vibration, a repetition. The universe keeps time through motion, and you are part of that motion. But perhaps the most profound truth is this: the stillness we seek is not outside time, but inside it. Think of a spinning wheel. The rim moves fast, but at the very center, there is a point that never moves at all. Time works the same way. On the surface, days rush by. In the center of experience, in awareness itself, everything is still. That stillness exists in every moment, hidden beneath motion. You can find it in the pause between breaths, in the second before sleep, in the silence between words. It's not the absence of time, but its quiet center, the part that never changes even as everything else does. Some physicists suggest that the universe itself may be timeless, that what we call past and future are simply coordinates in a larger geometry. If you could see time from outside, you'd see every moment existing at once, galaxies forming, leaves falling, you reading this line, all simultaneous, all connected. To live, then, is to move gently through an eternal landscape of moments. In that view, death is not departure but transformation, a turn in the pattern. The molecules that form, you will scatter, drift, reassemble, and become part of other rhythms. Nothing in existence ever truly ends, it only changes participation. To the human mind, that may sound vast, even overwhelming, but it can also be deeply peaceful. Because it means you have never truly been separate from anything. You are not moving through time, you are made of it. You are one of its expressions, briefly aware of itself. The light that fills a room at dawn, the warmth that touches your skin, the heartbeat in your chest, all of them are time turning into form, then into memory. When you think of moments you've loved, a laugh, a face, a scent, you are not recalling something lost. You are touching a place where time folded softly around presence. Those moments still exist, recorded in the architecture of the universe, in the neurons of your mind, in the air that carries their echoes. And when you look ahead to days not yet lived, what you feel is possibility, already waiting in the tapestry of time. You don't move toward the future, you unfold into it. Even the ticking of seconds becomes gentle when you realize they are not leaving you, they are arriving. Every instant is a visitor, not a thief. In the long stillness of the cosmos, you are a rhythm of consciousness moving through eternity, noticing itself for a while. So breathe slowly. The inhale is arrival. The exhale is release. Between them, there is a pause, the stillness of time itself. That pause is infinite. You are already in it. Eternity does not mean endlessness. It means presence that never leaves. It's not a clock without end, or a line that never stops. It's the still field in which all beginnings and endings appear, the ocean in which waves rise and fall, yet the water remains. When we think of infinity, the mind imagines vastness, galaxies without number, time without boundary. But the truth is softer. Eternity is not somewhere out there in the distance. It's here, in the very moment you're breathing. The infinite is not long, it is deep. Every instant contains everything that ever was and ever will be. When you hold a stone, you are touching fragments of supernovas, cooled into form. When you breathe, you exchange atoms that once drifted through dinosaurs, through clouds, through the first forests. Eternity is woven into the ordinary. If you listen closely to the present, truly listen, you can feel it expanding. The longer you stay still, the wider each second becomes, until you realize there's no edge to now. The mind measures time, but awareness doesn't. It simply exists, unbroken. The universe itself is a slow pulse of creation and return. Stars are born, burn, collapse, and seed new stars. Galaxies form, drift, merge, and dissolve into new patterns. Energy never ends. It only shifts. Even death is an act of recycling the same story told in new voices. Physicists say the cosmos may one day fade, its heat diffused, its motion slowed, yet even that imagined silence is not the end. It's simply another phase in the great patience of being. Something new will emerge from what seems empty, as it always has. When you gaze at the night sky, you are seeing not chaos, but continuity. Every flicker of light is a story still in motion. Every shadow is the space that allows it to be seen. Eternity's patience is what allows impermanence to exist at all. Because everything changes, eternity has to hold it to give it a place to happen. The falling leaf, the melting snow, the passing thought, each appears, disappears, and returns in some new form. The same patience exists within you. Your body changes constantly, yet something in you, awareness, essence, quietness, remains untouched. It watches decades pass without aging. It is the same consciousness that once looked out through childhood eyes, that listens now, that will one day return to silence. Eternity is not beyond life, it is life, seen without hurry. Think of light traveling through the universe. It moves at a fixed speed, yet from its own perspective, it takes no time at all. To light, every journey is instantaneous. That is eternity's secret. Movement without delay, change without loss, existence without fear. The patience of eternity is not passive, it's creative. It allows every possibility to unfold, no matter how small. It welcomes stars and seeds with the same grace. It waits for everything to become what it already is. In nature, you can see eternity's fingerprints everywhere. In the circular growth of shells, in the spiral of galaxies, in the rhythm of seasons that never truly end. Even in decay, there is design. When a tree falls, it feeds mushrooms, beetles, soil. When soil thickens, new roots form. When roots rise, trees grow again. The forest doesn't mourn, it recycles memory into life. That is patience beyond understanding. To human senses, eternity can feel distant, but perhaps that's only because we live inside it, the way a fish lives inside water. We can't see its borders because there are none. The air you breathe, the warmth on your skin, the thoughts that flicker through your mind, all are movements within the same infinite field. When ancient astronomers studied the heavens, they noticed something. The stars returned each year to nearly the same places. The sky was both changing and constant. They saw, in that repetition, a kind of kindness, the reassurance that the universe keeps its promises. Even now, thousands of years later, the same constellations rise. The same photons that lit their eyes light yours. Eternity is not far away. Its continuity made visible. In moments of quiet, you can feel its pulse, a stillness behind everything moving, a warmth behind everything cold. It is not bound by time, because it is what time flows through. When you are patient, you align with it. When you breathe deeply, you feel it. When you rest, you remember it. The patience of eternity teaches that there is no need to rush toward understanding. Every truth arrives in its own season. Every life unfolds in its own tempo. Even the universe took billions of years to become what it is, and it is still becoming. Perhaps the real meaning of eternity is acceptance, the ability to let everything exist exactly as it does, without needing to change it. In that acceptance, there is peace, because nothing is outside the circle of continuation. You, too, are part of that patience. The atoms of your body will outlive your name. The warmth you give, the air you move, the words you speak, all of it enters the great circulation. Eternity remembers, without effort. So, as you listen to the quiet around you now, imagine that the universe is listening too through you. Every heartbeat, every breath, every small act of noticing is part of the cosmos, remembering itself. Eternity is not waiting, it is here. It has always been here, and it is infinitely gentle. There comes a moment after the stars have risen, after the winds have stilled, when even the universe seems to exhale. It is not an ending, but a deep pause, a breath held between eternities. In this quiet, galaxies drift like slow lanterns across a sea too vast to measure. Their light moves patiently through the dark, each beam finding its way, each photon carrying the memory of 1,000 suns. Space cools, motion slows, yet nothing truly stops. The cosmos is only resting, turning inward, like an immense heart between beats. If you could listen closely enough, you might hear it. The soft vibration of background energy, the faint hum of atoms still spinning. Even silence has a pulse. The stars, too, will one day fade. Their fuel will burn out, their light dim, their heat scatter into the endless night. But the universe will not mourn. It will drift into a gentler state. Not empty, not lost, just peaceful. A sleep deeper than time, where everything that ever was continues as potential, unhurried, unharmed. In that imagined stillness, gravity itself becomes calm. Matter no longer races or collides. It drifts, quietly remembering its origins. Even light slows its urgency, spreading thinner, softer, until it becomes everywhere at once. This is not the death of the universe, it is its dreaming. A return to the first quiet, before stars ignited, when all things were one energy unshaped, waiting to awaken. Perhaps sleep is how eternity renews itself. Even galaxies, in their way, must rest. Even infinity needs to breathe. On Earth, this rhythm repeats every night. The planet turns away from the sun, and darkness flows across it like a tide. Cities dim, oceans gleam, mountains fade into silhouette. Everywhere, life leans toward stillness. In forests, animals find their dens. In rivers, currents soften. In the air, the last insects fold their wings. And somewhere in a small room, under the same stars, a person lies down, closing their eyes, their breathing falling into rhythm with the larger world. That person is you. You are the universe's way of resting within itself. The same forces that hold galaxies together are at work in your heartbeat. The same silence that fills the void now fills your chest. As you breathe, the cosmos breathes with you. A slow exchange between inside and outside, between dream and distance. Inhale, stars form. Exhale, they fade, scattering their light across infinity. Inhale, galaxies spiral. Exhale, the universe expands. Your breath and the universes are one and the same. Even sleep itself is cosmic. Each night, the mind drifts through memories and possibilities, dissolving boundaries, reweaving identity from fragments of light. Dreams are not just images, they are the psyche's gravity, pulling scattered thoughts back into coherence. When you dream, you participate in creation's oldest habit, turning chaos into pattern, motion into meaning. The brain's quiet flickers are the echoes of stars. You are made of their remnants, and you are replaying their origin every time you close your eyes. The ancients believed sleep was the cousin of death, but maybe it is closer to eternity, a rehearsal for the great stillness we all share. In sleep, you dissolve not into nothing, but into everything. The boundary between you and universe disappears. Outside, the night continues, slow clouds moving across moonlight, oceans whispering against coasts, trees swaying in rhythm with unseen winds. The planet dreams too, cradled in its orbit, turning gently through the dark. In the far distance, comets drift like forgotten thoughts. Planets circle quietly, space stretches and softens. The universe sighs, content to rest in its own expansion. You are safe here, held by gravity, wrapped in atmosphere, carried on a sphere of blue and silence. There is nothing you need to do. The stars are already burning, the rivers already flowing, the forests already breathing for you. The warmth in your hands is starlight slowed to life. The rhythm in your chest is the planet's heartbeat. The stillness in your mind is the echo of the first calm, the one that existed before time began. And now, as you rest, you return to that origin. The thoughts fade, the edges soften, the mind grows vast and quiet. You are not falling asleep. You are falling back into the universe that made you. Let the dark around you become infinite. Let the air in your lungs become the breath of the stars. Let your pulse match the slow expansion of the cosmos. Everything is exactly as it should be. Every sound, every silence, every heartbeat, all part of the same gentle continuation. The universe is sleeping, and you are its dream. You float within its patience. You rest within its warmth. You are part of its endless renewal, stardust remembering itself as calm. And as you drift deeper now, know that nothing is lost. Every thought you've ever had, every kindness, every spark of wonder, all remain in the quiet field of eternity, glowing softly, endlessly, waiting for you to return. The stars will keep their watch, the earth will turn beneath them, and you, luminous and small and infinite, will rest in their light. Sleep now. The universe is breathing you into peace. Everything that ever was is still here, waiting, dreaming, continuing. Tonight, you have traveled farther than distance. You've drifted through oceans, mountains, forests, clouds, and finally, beyond the light of the world, into the hush between stars. But this is not the end of the journey. This is where motion becomes meaning, where the universe exhales, and you begin to rest. Every heartbeat, every thought, the moment you've lived tonight, all of it belongs to something vast and kind and endlessly patient. The same atoms that burn inside suns are breathing quietly within you. The same silence that fills galaxies now rests behind your eyes. You are not separate from the universe. You are its awareness, paused for a moment to feel itself think. You are how the cosmos dreams. So let everything go now, the weight of remembering, the need to hold, the ache of becoming. The stars will remember for you. The earth will keep turning. The rivers will carry every unfinished thought back into motion. All you need to do is breathe. Inhale, the universe rises. Exhale, it returns to calm. The air moves in and out, like tides on the edge of forever. Each breath carrying you deeper into the quiet center of everything. The body softens, the mind slows. Time itself begins to drift. There is no past here, no next moment waiting. Only this single, endless now, expanding softly beneath the stars. Sleep is not escape, it is reunion. It's the place where light folds back into silence, where awareness becomes sky again. When you close your eyes tonight, you are not disappearing, you are returning. Back to the calm that existed before beginnings. Back to the space that carries every voice and every dream. Back to the first breath the universe ever took, and the next one it's still taking, through you. Rest now. Let the gravity of sleep pull you home. You are safe. You are timeless. You are loved by the quiet itself. Drift with the stars. Sink into the dark that holds everything gently. Let go of shape, of name, of thought. The world will wait. The morning will come, and when it does, it will find you renewed, soft, steady, infinite as light returning through mist. For now, there is only peace. There is only stillness. There is only this breath, and the next. The universe is sleeping, and you are its dream.